Welcome to the September 28th, 2023 Planning Board session. In the absence of the secretary, I'll call the roll. Vice Chair, Dennis Venuti.
Present.
Secretary Burke, absent. Board Member Craig Catalanato.
Present.
George Mutu is absent. Tom Neely.
Present.
Kate Fulham.
Present.
Chair is present. We have a quorum. Please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Are there any minutes, Claire, that were signed?
We were fine, but so with Gloria now and push this application.
Okay, great. So we're going to go into the work session. We'll close out this session and open a work session for the Bridgehampton Child Care Gym Building. So come on up to the table. Is it just you, Bill? Is it just you?
I think so.
Okay.
I wasn't expecting anyone else. I hope you weren't. I have 4 sets. 3 of them have de minimis drawings, site plan and floor plan and so forth, and 1 of them has supplementary eye candy.
Okay.
Just state your name for the record with the little point.
And I think that would be good that we said. So I don't know how you want me to distribute these.
We just can leave it.
Leave them, we'll help you with
Yeah,
it. Yeah.
right. It will, the site plan's helpful.
Bill, just state your name for the record, for the audio record.
Bill Chaliff from Rogers Architects.
And this is the Bridgehampton Child Care Gym Building at 551 Bridgehampton Sag Harbor Turnpike.
Correct.
So I'll just do a brief overview. You, a couple years ago, approved that new building they have in front, and it was PCO'd, and it's been very successful for them. They've been speaking about this project, which is a gym/pool building that would be associated with Bridgehampton Child Care and be a community building also. But you can see that the site is also fields for the kids to play and things like that. So it was a very, a site that you have to think about all those uses going on. And in the Aquifer Protection Overlay District.
It's APOD.
APOD. So I think you've seen a concept of this before. There was some question about if they were grandfathered some clearing, and the determination is yes, they are grandfathered some clearing. I think the percentage is about 77%. So there's been back and forth. That was a determination from Sean, the chief building inspector. So that's what they're entitled to. What they'd like to do is to optimally site this building to still have the fields, but be conscious of the natural vegetation. So they're taking advantage of this cleared area here, but there's this portion that's still vegetated in this corner, which is the orange. And in exchange, they'll revegetate on other sites to be part of the block for natural vegetation. And that would be a site disturbance with you.
That backs up to the
Consider
Long
that.
Pond Green Belt, right?
It does.
Does.
Yeah, so there's an advantage of having the vegetation come back on this area. That's in a nutshell, but Bill's here, obviously. He's familiar with the project.
And thank you, very well done, Claire.
Thank you. I've seen this once or twice. So I guess the area for the transfer would be
We
about,
actually gained 1%, it's 76%, you know, we went 1% over with the new.
Revegetation?
Yes, with the
Mhm.
revegetation. So,
and that would be then their final number would be the 76%, and that would be that going forward
right.
for the natural vegetation.
I will point out one thing that it's reflection of the real world as we know it. Those of us with some years in experience would see that, you know, the penetration into the existing clearing, I decided would go as far as it need be from the building to reflect that real men and real equipment, heavy equipment will be required to put in the foundation here. So it does come over the setback line of 20 feet by a couple of feet. But again, I don't know how that can be helped. There's also, this is the site where we're going to put in the septic, and I just see no way around that.
You can't move it forward?
Well, we can, but we're already in conflict here with the existing baseball field, and that what is a routine distance from home plate to any obstruction is 300 feet, and we're at 244 here. But in all fairness, the standards set by the Little League are 200 feet. That's this arrow right here. So there is an issue with obstructing here, and in general, we did want to set this, we want to maintain, as Claire said, this open field for, it's a this whole institution is an incredible place. And the idea is, it's not just, they're not just shelving kids during the day. This child care center very actively and very progressively, you know, exposes these kids and works on all kinds of programs in the arts, the literature, history, of film, and also the body, you know, sports. You know, Bonnie does an amazing job, and this, the multi-purpose aspect of the property is essential to delivering on those programs. So when we first started, Bonnie had said, well, you know, we'll put this building here, and I said, Bonnie, you know. So she understood, and we've tried to push this back and make the building smaller, as small as it possibly could be, to support the programming that it has to support. And it really is. You'll see when you look at the floor plan that, you know, the basketball court just is wedged in here. And again, the swimming pool, if there's criticism, it would be that it would be nice to have larger areas around the court for more seating, or around the pool, just to walk around the pool. Everything is de minimis and tight. And of course, there are considerations for the budget, but it really is the program that's driving the shape and the size. So we could come, again, this was a 20-foot setback. We could have moved it there. We did not because of pyramid requirements, and we're just touching the edge of the, skinning past the coping of the roof with our 45-degree sky plane, and that's compliant. We're not asking for a variance on that. But that overall describes the issues and what we thought was the best solution. You know, there's some compromise somewhere. There's no way around that. But this is, in this case, it's all about the clearing. Again, we'll have a septic system that we have to put in. Issues about parking.
Yes, I was just going to ask you, can you go over the parking calculations with us?
Yes and no. We have the same approach with the septic, in that our thinking here is that, yes, we're building a building, and it's even larger than most of the other buildings that already exist on the property, but the idea is not to increase the number of people who come and use the property in total. There already exists a large parking lot here, and frankly, we're adding 9 slots, and then there is a bus drop-off, and the site is largely serviced by people taking buses, particularly the kids. So we had hoped that we would see, again, an overlap, and again, the same principle with the septic, how much flow, daily flow, this is 6.000 something 35 acres, but it's 6 acres. How much flow can be accepted here? And we've instituted discussions with the Suffolk County Health Department.
Are there bathrooms in there?
About that, and there's some acceptance to the idea, but we're in the very beginning stages of discussions about that. But the principle is the same, that the number of people that are here before we build the building will be really the number of people that are here after we build the building. We're just allowing them to have facilities that they did not have access to otherwise.
So I have two questions, Bill. One is, you're going to have bathroom facilities in the gym?
Yes.
And
We
we've
need
calculated all of that into the equation of flow?
Again, yes, but that's, again, there are already bathrooms here in these other buildings. There's, these are showers, right, but you have to have toilets and sinks
Sure.
as well. But in terms of of what goes into the waste stream, we don't see any major difference. It's just like when the health department looks to size your septic system for residents, they don't count the number of bathrooms, they count the bedrooms. They're looking for occupancy, they're looking for occupant load. And again, our point is that the occupant load on the whole site, we don't feel is going to change.
My second question is that when Bonnie came and presented for the front building, when you were doing that, she indicated that this pool and facilities would be open to the public. Is that true?
I don't know, you have to take that up with Bonnie.
Because
Yeah. Then that would change the number.
it has an impact on the, on parking
Mhm.
and on circulation.
Mhm.
But that was her statement, so,
And the same with the baseball field, whether it's baseball and, like Little League, as you said, 200 feet. I assume that 300 you mentioned is for like men's softball or something.
Yeah, almost anything else other than Little League. you know.
Did they sublet out to the Little League? Little League teams are playing on the ball field?
I really don't know. I
so
don't
these
know
are
if Bonnie
questions,
knows.
yeah, these are all questions.
for Bonnie, I'm
Right.
sorry.
Big question I have is, what about the lighting back there, Bill? Is the ball field lit? Do they have the lights?
Not currently.
Okay. I think that's something we
Yeah,
probably want to
lighting.
restrict.
Yeah.
Okay.
'Cause if
Yeah,
it's
there's
a men's-
residential.
If it's an adult league, if you end up with an adult league and those specs sound
Yeah.
like they're for an adult
Well,
league.
5 years, from now, a different board can be maybe coming in here requesting lighting, so I think that's something we could
Right.
maybe roll into the,
Yeah.
The adult league, the distance between the bases change. It's not just the field that changes, it's all these dimensions will shift. So I don't know, once they dig in and actually set up and have configured the base runs, they've pretty much locked themselves into one
Right, it's hard to
use or the
do
other.
a Little League field and an adult league field on the same field.
Yeah.
Right.
If you have a
Well, they have it,
structure,
like Red Creek has that, where they just make it for the big league and then shorten it up.
right.
For the
If you have a structure
kids.
200
Yeah.
feet out from home plate with adults playing on it, those balls will be hitting that structure quite a lot.
We understand, and we've taken
Well,
that into account.
You can
with-
build a green monster there, like
There you go.
Fenway Park.
Right.
There you go, make a dome.
So,
Yeah, the lighting part is very, very important.
yeah.
too.
Because it backs up to one of the largest
Yeah.
preserves, the Long Pond.
Yeah.
Claire,
So-
do we have an aerial so that we can see the property next door where
yes.
the,
Yeah,
I
this
think
is
so.
the town owns this, this is the seniors' housing and senior center
Yeah.
adjacent.
because there may be a development there, affordable housing.
Yes, that's
And
right.
so, one of the questions that came up was municipal easement.
Mm.
Do you see that? Can you see that?
Yeah,
Okay. So this is the town.
right. And so how that municipal easement would come in or affect this property, we
Right.
have to take into consideration. Perhaps Janice can,
It would be even advantageous to have the cross-access and have this be an access, especially if this is a bus drop-off.
Mhm.
It seems so tight there.
Right.
To
We-
actually connect right away to the town might be an advantage.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So think about that, right,
Yeah.
cross-access.
Yeah,
It
but,
might be good with this, but I think the town would be willing to have it implemented.
right, but maybe Janice has a concept plan for that
Oh, that's a good idea.
affordable housing, so
Right.
we
Okay.
can make a note.
Okay.
And that
What-
Bill can take a look at it.
Mhm.
I'd love to. Well, we're currently showing, right now, the exit in and out to the whole parcel is in the southwest corner.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a two-way into this parking lot. What we propose is that we're adding this use, which currently is a track created by vehicles going in already, so it's not like it almost doesn't exist. But turning it before the building, and it serves a parking lot that, at the rear of this school, I guess a school building or a classroom building, they call it, and then would continue. And we really want all of this to be one way.
Oh, I
Mm-hmm.
see, you're doing the second entrance.
Yes, this, yeah,
Exit.
come out the other,
Sorry,
the
you
other
don't see
corner.
that, but.
Right.
Do you want me to show it to them?
Yeah, we just hold it up.
Yeah, we'll hold it up.
I could not click.
Yeah.
So that's a roadway bill,
So
right?
that, yeah,
There were
that-
proposed exit here.
So that could hook into a municipal cross
that
access.
could hook
within
in,
it.
yes, and we had talked about that.
Mhm.
But the idea is that, as far as I'm concerned, is it's safety. When you've got kids on the property
Mhm.
and vehicles on
around
the
the
property,
Mhm.
that
Yeah,
a
there's like a
one-way
light
street
line,
is
but it
it's
would go like
a
this
major
if you exit.
significant difference
They
in
could
terms
easily
of
like have a
safety.
joint access here.
Yeah.
Well, do they get any parking relief for municipal easement? I believe they do,
They would be,
as
yes.
opposed to just a straight cross access.
They would get,
This is a-
they
yeah.
would be parking relief, and it
Right.
could work well, an
Uh-huh.
advantage for both
Like
facilities.
shared use
Yeah,
parking.
exactly.
Yeah. So, but we did add 9, including 2 handicap spots. It's nine slots here, and again, the bus drop-off. and
What's
bus
the square
parking.
footage of the building?
It is about 21, now it's on here, on the floor plan. Yeah,
21,000.
21,000,
Yep.
that's between 2 floors,
Ah,
right.
so what is
Yeah.
it, 10,000 below and 10 above, or? no?
Not
No, no,
quite,
no, no.
I'll show you. The lower floor, the first floor is, we have it all split up. Excluding basement is 19,600. With the basement, it pops over 20,000. But the first floor gym and pool wing and entry wing is about 15,000, and the mezzanine is 2,000 plus 2,300.
So it's like
Track.
17.
Yeah, all the numbers are on here for you.
A lot of studies show.
In other
that-
words, this first floor has the lockers, it has an entrance, it has one meeting room, it has a gym equipment storage space, it has an office for the person who will be in charge of this, it has a smaller office for the person in charge of just the pool. It's really everything that has to be on the first floor.
And where are the showers, Bill?
The showers are here, here, and here. This
And
is men's, this is women's.
And there are toilets attached
And
somewhere in
there
there?
are toilets here for the women and here for the men, plus some urinals.
Can I ask a question about just planning? Since the property next door is owned by the town and planned for senior housing, you know, a lot of studies show the benefits mutually of young people and seniors socializing together and learning from each other. And I wonder if your setback issue, as well as, you know, parking and unifying those sites a little bit more, and I'm not sure the mechanism for that with different ownership, but could this facility be crossing the boundary line of that other lot and service both the youth and the seniors together?
We had a meeting with planning, headed by Janice, and Jay was there with other people on the town board, just to address those issues and hoped for cooperative development to the benefit of each. We're well
Sure.
aware that that's, as you speak, that's the case. And we would love to see nothing more. But we haven't had the town come back to us with any concrete ideas. And we know about the affordable housing there,
Mhm.
and I believe, I've heard through the back streets that I will be asked to submit an a response to a proposal
For those buildings?
for architectural services for the housing. So
Mhm.
I don't know, I'd love to be involved.
So good, we'll
All of
put that
that.
in our report to help try to move that
That you
along, because I think it's.
strongly recommend, right?
Yeah, I would
Right.
say that personally, professionally and personally.
But,
It's a great
no, but
idea.
we are, and we're open to ways of cooperating.
Mhm.
Absolutely we are. And we know that, yes, the interaction between the two benefit both populations without a doubt.
Yeah,
In a very positive
intergenerational,
way.
intergenerational efforts are
That's
very
right.
positive.
Mhm.
So what about flow? Could you put that down as a question?
Yeah, I think
Because
that was a good question.
there
Yeah,
are
and that's
something
why we
like, what I
show the-
count is 5 bathrooms?
No.
3 on the women's side,
Okay.
toilets.
On the bathrooms, we have 4 toilets for the women. We have 2 toilets and 2 urinals for the men. We have 3 sinks for the men, we have 4 for the ladies, and we have, I think, a little more locker space as well. We have 3 showers for each, the men and the women. No. Again, this is not an Olympic-sized pool. This is just one step over your standard 20 by 40. It's 28 by 50 to allow for 4 lanes, swimming lanes, and the 50, if you're at 40 feet on a swimming pool, if you kick jumping off and you're kick turning, you have about 3 strokes in between. So we're, again, very mindful about the costs, but we thought this was the de minimis pool that would find use. And again, I don't know in terms of the public or not public, but in my mind, I've been there many, 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 many times and participated in a lot of the programs, and I've seen the kids, and then that's who was in my mind when we're laying this out and sizing
And
things.
if they come off the basketball court, they can also access the
Yes.
bathrooms and the showers?
Yes, there's a hallway in between the entrances for the men and the women, and that is accessible directly from the pool. There's a door, but also through the lobby or through this direct
I see.
access, right, to the same
Okay.
And the
place.
basketball court meets some kind of youth league standards or something?
Yes, it's the high school regular 85-foot or 84-foot court, and meets that standard. We do have some movable bleachers on one side. Nobody wants to sit on the end anyway, right? And on the south side, there are 2 24-foot doors that open up and open the building to the outside. So again, the use of the field relates to the building relates to the field, so that there might be, I don't know, a band here and people sitting there. We just are trying to allow for as many different uses as we can think of, and because who knows what 25 years down the road or 50 years down the road will bring. So we're trying to future-proof.
Did
That's
you,
a popular expression today.
Are these doors like pocket doors, so they
No,
just sort
they're
of slide?
overlapped, they're like barn doors.
Uh-huh.
I have
So
an
they slide on
illustration.
rollers, or do they slide on rollers?
They slide
Yeah.
on rollers, they're
Okay.
manually operated.
Okay, but they're not doing this to interfere with the field,
No,
right?
they slide across the
Okay.
the opaque walls on
Good.
each side, exactly. Mhm.
Okay. So can you tell us a bit about the outside, the exterior, the architectural ingredients?
Ingredient. Oh, this is set here.
There's a color rendering under there, Bill.
Under this one?
Yeah, right. See it?
So that's the site plan again.
Okay.
That's the site plan with the parking shown and
Mhm.
so forth. But there is a color. Many. And then the second floor plan I was starting to tell you has 3 multi-purpose rooms up above the mezzanine and above the locker rooms and the toilets, and a track around the court.
An open track? I mean,
An open
you can look
track,
at it.
right, an open track. These are the elevations, and then we have some perspectives. Everybody has this, here's in the other set. Everybody is benefiting from their computers these days. No. Back here.
Flat roof or angled roof?
I think it's flat. Is that flat roof, Phil?
Is it what?
Flat roof?
Flat roof or angled?
It's a flat roof because the plan is to put as many solar collectors, photovoltaics on the roof as possible. And if you have a gabled roof, then they're gonna be unpacked. If you have a flat roof, they will cover the entire roof and you won't see them, right? We have no penetrations in the roof at all. There's no piping, there's no signs, there's nothing at all. And the panels sit on a flat roof, and they're ballasted. They're not anchored for the wind. They have weights, usually concrete block on the racks that hold them down. That's all calculated to withstand the wind loading of 140 miles per hour. And we have done a building like that in the past, so we're familiar with those requirements.
And where
So-
do you propose the mechanicals to be on this site
The
plan?
That's also within the building.
Uh-huh.
We put everything within the building. In the gym, there are trusses every 12 feet, and in the depth of the trusses, the 4 feet on the 2 end bays, in each corner, there are heat pumps. This is going to be no fossil fuels, all electric.
Great.
The walls, the construction of the building is high, these are structural insulated panels. It is not conventional stick construction or masonry construction. And to maximize the thermal resistance of the roof and the walls. So these 4 heat pumps are mounted up in the space
Yeah,
of the
that's
trusses,
clever.
and they handle this room
For AC and heat.
for AC and heat and ventilation. Under this portion, there is a basement plan in the set, and it's only this portion underground is the basement, just this area. That's what these steps are for on the outside, access to that. And this will harbor the mechanical equipment for these rooms above, and most importantly, for the pool.
For the pool.
And the pool, the mechanical engineer that we're working with, we have a 20-year history of working with this fellow, did the latest swimming pool for Yale, and it was determined that, when the kids are swimming, they stir up the surface of the water, which means all the chemicals that are in the water get liberated, and they're right at the swimmers' heads. So in an effort to reduce that, the gutter around the pool where the water goes and returns, that also becomes the return air channel, so that we can make that as safe.
Interesting.
As that
Some
works.
new
So we have worked-
mechanisms, yeah.
Yeah, so we've worked out on the mechanics, and we have schematics, we're already into this, but we didn't dare go any further because you people may say, rip it up and start again, or what, or other friendly terms, I don't know. We'll see. But I'm trying to answer your question, that we really have considered that. So all of these units are grilled to connect to for their need for ventilation air. There are grills in the building, and there is nothing on the roof, and there's nothing on the grounds anywhere else. So it's a good neighbor.
Mhm.
Again, we know that there'll be people
Quite
to the
green,
north.
yeah.
Yeah, and it's as green as we could make it.
I thought that was great, good overview.
Yeah,
Um,
any other, we covered pretty
I
much
think- I
everything,
think
the major details?
Yeah, so, this would be subject to pre-submission,
Yeah.
so I think it's ready for you to, and they have the plans and obviously.
Well, we
get a
have
lot
to,
of
yeah,
feedback.
give a report to Bill of all of our questions, yeah, pre-submission, yeah.
Well, we should do a pre-submission, yeah, he should
Yeah.
commence with the pre-submission conference on this,
And
okay?
these drawings are for you to put in your files, or?
Yeah. Definitely.
Okay.
So bear in mind, we have a mechanism for nonprofits to receive a waiver of fees, but it requires a town board
I see.
resolution.
Well, Bonnie is definitely a nonprofit, and
Yeah.
so I will bring that to her attention. That's
Yeah.
terrific.
Yeah,
And then you mean all processing fees and,
Yep.
Yeah.
and
Building
permit
permit
fees
fees,
and
yep.
so forth? Well, that's terrific.
So
That
Claire,
will
just
help.
give us a quick review of the bullet points.
yeah, so we talked about the Aquifer Protection Overlay District first, because that was
Clearing.
the big thing that was being worked out. Parking, the bus drop-off, bathroom facilities, is it open to the public was a big question that you had. You talked about the Little League, would it be used for other people, lighting being restricted, the town land next door with the affordable housing, cross-access to the town land and the shared parking, and use, the second exit he pointed out at this time. Is the county, right away, you know that, so it would be up to the county if you were out at a second curb cut. So
Right. Mhm.
definitely reach out to them
Yeah.
sooner rather than later on that one.
Understood. But
Yeah.
we also know that they're concerned about having those cuts too close to each other.
Yes,
So we put them at the
One
extreme
another end,
corners.
yeah.
yeah,
We can't do any better than that.
right, exactly. And then Kate brought up the benefit of both the senior and the children
Mhm.
interacting.
Yeah, I mean, you alluded to having broached the subject and then not getting a response. What do you think the likelihood is of that? Or from a planning perspective, is that something common that, I mean, it's not common, but it's,
We've inquired many, many times
Mhm.
in email and phone calls to find out the status of the project, and we never get, nobody returns.
Janice would know, I mean.
I know,
She
but-
showed us some drawings, so,
Yeah.
just last week, so
I see.
you could I would contact her.
Well, I will, and I have reached out to her in the past, and we've always, we worked on the sustainability committee together for years. and
Right.
So we have a good relationship, except I know she's overwhelmed with her responsibilities, and I'm
Right.
not getting callbacks
Well,
or
we all are,
emails
but this is
back.
an active application, so
Mhm.
she
Yeah, I
needs
mean,
to
that's
put it on
kind of
her
the
priority list.
elephant in the room before
Mhm.
any of those other questions are pre-submission. If
Mhm.
it's an option, then that kind of changes everything.
Oh, you mean with the building being like put over the property line, you mean?
And shared with the senior housing, if that's an option, it shifts the whole conversation
Well,
on
that's
pre-submission, I
actually a
think.
question first for
Or
Bonnie, with whether
Yeah.
that fits into her
Her plan.
plan.
Well, I think you
'Cause
said
that
they've
wasn't-
already proposed it, right?
No, I don't think so. I think there
No.
was I think, it was rather, would the town give some land to
Oh, I
to
understand.
them?
Okay.
And the answer was, it was
Mhm.
something they couldn't do, you know,
Mhm.
unless to even a non-for-profit.
Because where the town will develop an affordable housing complex, that's also a very restrained site, because
I
that's
know.
APOD.
Right,
You've got
Right.
wetlands somewhere in there,
yeah.
and so when they do that, I mean,
It's only 16 units.
yes, in like 3 or 4 houses.
Yeah.
But only you start someplace. You gotta
It's
start
Yeah.
someplace
every
to
little
your
bit
affordable
helps. Well, they're-
housing.
you
We
know,
need 5,000 in the town,
But
you
yeah,
know?
little steps. You can't, you have to walk before you run, right?
We've been crawling for years.
And Claire, I don't know, we're focused on this
Mhm.
building, which is appropriate, but talking about the baseball field, as long as we're mentioning the lighting,
Mhm.
I would wonder for future development about fertilizing of a baseball field.
Oh,
and the turf
yes.
management of that.
Yes. I mean, I've been there to the
Yeah.
site and it looks to me, it looks natural.
Yeah,
It's
but
not
we-
bright green, as
but
I've
we
seen
have
in
to
other
make-
places, but I think that's a good point for the
Make an
APOD,
indication.
yeah.
When you make a baseball field out of it, right.
Yeah.
And
that's a
there'll
good
be no
point. And
opposition to that. I'm
It's a
sure.
baseball field now. I think he's just
I think they
meaning
just
like,
mow it.
you know,
Yeah.
yeah.
Cleaning it up a little.
I don't
Yeah.
know that they,
Okay.
yeah, I don't know that they
No, but that's a good
fertilize
point,
it at
because
all.
the.
So there are no other new buildings here, Bill, right? I thought I
No, no
saw
other
here.
new buildings planned as part of this presentation, none that I am aware of.
Okay.
And on the other site, you know, on the west end of the site, that's been just all redone and reconfigured. You know, we do have some
There you go.
interiors, and we have, these are the meeting rooms upstairs, and we have a big basketball size one of the interior of the gym, you know. And again, we're right up against the recommendations for any clearances off the size of the court itself. It's no bigger than that.
And that's a bank of windows?
Yes, there's clear story windows. These are not glass. These are polycarbonate. And the interior, at this point, we're planning, you can see the track, right?
Above
All the
it,
way
yeah.
around, yeah. And we're planning a tile on the walls so that, again, it's ball resistant and play resistant. And on the outside of the building, we're thinking of all tile. I have some perspectives here. You can see the tile. And the idea is to resist the occasional softball or hardball or whatever from the ball field. But more than that, the finishes, we don't want metal. Metal will dent and look crummy and wild, and has to be, you're relying on paint and maintenance to protect the building over time, over tens of decades. And the tile is the most durable and material we can think of, and it's a very good price. The porcelain tiles have plummeted in their price. Now, you can get them for less than $4 a square foot.
Really?
Yeah.
And what
Outside
color are you
Like,
thinking of?
Well, we're thinking, we may even have the kids do even custom,
Art?
do some art on them,
Mhm.
but we'll use colors, and I guess we'll have to come and make presentations to you about specifically what we're doing there, but it would be a playful,
Mhm. Like a mural
like,
along
almost
in
like,
tile?
yeah, I don't know if it'd be a full-on mural, but it may just be color, spots of color. We have to see, you know, the kids may decide. And Bonnie may say, if the kids want it, I want it, and if I want it, then Bill, you draw it. You know? So
That's it.
we'll see. But then we'll, of course, present that to you. But simple and durable finishes. These are glazed sections here for the entrance, and around the pool, which shows, I think I have it here. Yeah. So this is the main entrance, and this is the pool wing, and this is glass. It's just these clear story here that it's the polycarbonate.
For the court, the
For the
basketball court, yeah.
for the
How
baseball
tall
court.
is it?
It's, I think 29 or something like that, or 30. On this is the rear, and again, the setback line just comes right up to the edge of the sky plane for the pyramid law. It just comes right up to the edge of that, and that's why the building is 30 feet from the property line. The zoning is a 20-foot setback. So we don't worry about that. We've done our best to try and conform with the spirit of what your requirements would be, and take the long haul. It's interesting about the economics here. This building's gonna cost a pretty penny. It's gonna be in the millions, and we're at the point of pricing it out now. We know it's gonna be at the minimum of $4 million, and maybe $6 million, and we'll have to see where we go. But Bonnie is not scared about that. She has a lot of good connections and a history of sustaining the place that she's in charge of now. What she worries about, and what would be a burden, is our maintenance and operating costs.
Right.
So it really behooves her, or any owner in the same situation, to build a building that is durable and where the maintenance and the operating costs are low, even if it might cost you 5 or 10% upfront. The return, during the lifetime service of the building, the operating and maintenance costs overwhelm the construction costs. It's true on every building. That's why they went and reglazed the entire Empire State Building, which is coming up soon on its 100th anniversary. You know, it was built in 1931. So buildings that are built well are economical, the most economical
Right.
building you can have. And Bonnie's fully in line with that, and that's again also why she wants the PV, and we're going with the state-of-the-art and the mechanics all the way throughout for the same reason.
And you have a lot of sustainable features in this, which is great.
Everything we could think of, if you have other ideas, please let us know.
Great.
But, so this
Okay.
package of these renderings is included
Yeah.
in what we're leaving for you.
Sounds good.
Great, thank you.
Thanks, Bill.
Thank you very
Thank you for
much.
your time,
Thank you.
and I'm going to meet with the board right now and tell
Okay.
them what happened here.
Okay, we can watch for themselves. Very exciting.
Okay.
Great, I'll take that from you.
There you go, with some, whatever clips you find here are
Thanks.
yours.
Great.
Okay, so we're closing out of the afternoon work session into the afternoon regular planning board session. Thanks, Bill, be
Good to see
well.
you.
Anthony, do you want to go? You have half past six?
Teresa's just gonna do her 2 things first.
I got to go first today.
Oh, no one told me that, okay.
Sorry.
Here's the report.
So are you doing 103 County Road 39 LLC first?
Yes. I have their site plan packages if you want to take a look, but C 2.1 is really the meats and bones of the plan, just here. And I'll leave this one up here for you. But if you guys want to take these, they're big.
This is
103 County Road.
103 County Road, is that you? You don't have any small versions of these?
Not really, no, I couldn't get the small version, but I
Put it
can
in
put it
the
up on
older.
the, I can put it up on the computer.
Can you?
too.
That's
Absolutely. Well, the nice thing about this is I can zoom it in as close as you want it to be.
There we go.
Okay.
Okay, so this is the pre-submission report.
Right, so the public hearing the pre-submission conference date was July 27th, and the applicant wants to construct a 14,800 square foot two-story medical office with a 7,800 square foot footprint and basement storage, 99 parking stalls inclusive of 4 ADA compliant stalls and 25 land bank stalls, a truck loading stall, and other accessory improvements inclusive of a recessed courtyard, retaining walls, and landscaping. The pre-submission conference was held again on the 27th, and no comments were received during the meeting, and no comments were received during the 30-day comment period. During the meeting, the board asked to see that the parking be put behind the building in order to mitigate the visual impacts around County Road 39, so that is one of the recommendations in the report. But just to start the beginning, the site is currently vacant and it's mostly cleared, as you can see here on the aerial photograph. There is some vegetation here along the property lines, and then some in the back, mostly on the adjacent residentially zoned parcel. This is the cemetery, which is also adjacent, which is also residentially zoned. And then this is the Burger King. It's a type 1 action, and SECR will need to be done prior to completing site plan review and deeming the application complete. One of the things that the County Road 39 study had recommended is that the buildings on the site be limited to 5,000 square feet each building, rather than one larger building. That was a recommendation. It's not codified in the town code, but in these zones between the commercial and the residential, they did recommend smaller buildings clustered, more of a campus style. So that's something that is highlighted on the report as a discussion item as to whether or not you want to see something of that nature. Again, item number 4 was a recommendation to put the building on the south side of the parcel so that all of the parking could be screened by the building. And that's also consistent with the County Road 39 corridor study. There was concerns regarding the traffic of the proposed use, and the times that the traffic counts were going to be done. It's recommended that the traffic study be revised to acknowledge that there is increased traffic in the spring and the fall, and that traffic counts should be taken in each quarter of the year. That's the recommendation there. In the interest of motor vehicle safety, left turns onto County Road 39 here should be prohibited, and cross-access to the east should be provided. We're still searching for the actual language of the easement for the Burger King parcel, but we're quite positive we have it. And then also, we currently have cross-access easements for this lot, and this lot, and this lot. These 3 lots had been one parcel, and there's a cross-access easement for all of these. It doesn't specify the exact location of a cross-access. So
the plan would be, just use your cursor to show.
So the plan would be to come in like this, and then up and over somewhere over here. And then you would have internal circulation here, and then you would be able to turn in and then come to North Sea Road and then turn left as needed.
Does the County Road 39 study show any kind of schematic for that?
No, unfortunately, and I
No.
did ask the town engineer if they could draft up a plan for me, but they just weren't able to get it done.
Yeah.
Right.
But, you know, that is something that we're looking on, forward to. And we do have a site plan application here. This is the ambulance, so we could, you know, work with the ambulance corps to try and get that cross-access provided. Because they're gonna be disturbing more than an acre of land, they're gonna need a stormwater pollution prevention plan that needs to be submitted to the town engineer and approved. There's one concern with respect to that stormwater pollution prevention plan that I saw. If you look at the site plan, on one of the pages has grading, and it shows that they're going to be elevating the grade by about 3 feet in some areas. I recommend that they take a look at that, because the lot is flat. There shouldn't be a real need to regrade the site. I think most of that soil appears to be coming from the excavated courtyard, the recessed courtyard, so that should be taken into consideration and maybe eliminated in favor of an at-grade courtyard, so you're not changing the very much.
Right.
In the interest of reducing grade modifications and stormwater runoff, the proposed courtyard, recessed or at grade, should be, the recessed courtyard should be abandoned in favor of the at grade courtyard. And for sustainability purposes, the applicant should consider the use of permeable pavers and naturally vegetated bioswales and incorporate that into the stormwater pollution prevention plan. With respect to item number 11, landscaping, there are existing mature trees here along the boundary of the cemetery and along the boundary of Burger King. So they should revise their landscaping plan to identify those large mature trees and, where possible, retain them to provide screening from the other uses. And the landscape plan at present in the site plan that you have in front of you does show creation of landscape berm and retaining walls here along the road to provide screening of of the parking. However, if you move the building towards the front and the parking in the rear, you can eliminate the need for the landscape berm and retaining walls. And then we would recommend that they install street trees like red maples, approximately over 50 feet around along County Road 39, with some ground covering vegetation interspersed throughout that transitional area towards the building. In the interest of climate resiliency, the use of native drought-tolerant species should be considered, which would decrease the need for irrigation, fertilizer, and other maintenance. Again, the County Road 39 corridor study was not codified, but it did recommend transitional zones between the commercial uses and the residential uses, which are these two lots here. So in that, keeping with that recommendation, the landscape plan needs to provide, substantial screening between those two, and let's see. If in the event that the access to parking is provided here along the westerly lot line, the applicant should try and mimic this access here, which is a tree-lined access-way with an array of trees. And that'll help soften the transition between the two uses, the commercial use and the residentially zoned parcel. The applicant is proposing an IA septic system in accordance with health department requirements, and referrals will be made when such an application comes in. Because there's a need for intermunicipal cross-access, a public hearing does need to be held.
So Teresa, two things on the sustainability, number 10.
Yes,
We're encouraging solar where possible,
okay.
and we're encouraging electric charging stations. It's somewhere in the parking lot, and there are lots of parking spaces, so maybe 2.
Okay, I will add that to the report.
Right. And I think we had 4. Dennis?
There's a lot of parking. We should
There's a
really
lot of
develop
parking.
How much parking?
99 parking
Oh,
spaces.
then we would do 1 per 20
One per
spaces, so
20, yeah.
5.
So 5. So
There you
we
go.
have a.
Like you
Well,
said.
I mean,
Kind
there's
of.
25 land
We made
bank-
it up, but yes, that's what we did.
25 land bank stalls, so would we do 6 then? But,
Yes. 125?
well, 99 plus 25 land bank, so 6.
And we have some sustainability language that we've been using.
Yes, we have that statement. We can add that statement.
Yeah,
that
if
did
you
do.
can give it to Teresa.
Okay,
Good report, Teresa.
thank
Thank
you.
you.
Could I ask about number 7?
Yes.
We talked about no lefts out. Did we talk about no lefts in? They're prohibited at the
Oh, yeah.
rehabilitation center.
Yeah.
They're prohibited, what is that, Summer Lane, I think, the next
Yeah.
intersection.
Okay,
Mhm.
I think we should certainly consider that. I mean,
Yeah,
I would recommend it.
God, yes. you
Are they
could.
allowed at Burger King?
yes, I believe they are.
Yeah, no lefts out of Burger King, but I do
Right, but
think you're
they
still
do go
allowed to
right
make
out of
lefts
Burger
in.
King, right,
I think the newer developments are the ones that
yeah.
prohibited the lefts in.
Is it possible that they could take entrance and exit off North Sea Road? I mean, or is it as of right that they get to have a curb cut on County Road 39?
I
Okay.
mean, I guess that's a question for the county DPW, right? If they
Mhm.
have to take access, or if they're required to take access, well, I mean,
I think they're entitled to
They're
access
entitled
if they're
to
fronting
access.
the street.
Right.
and at the end of the day, it might help with circulation patterns to have that access, because then you'll have access from Burger King and from County Road 39, so it might move the traffic a little bit. Maybe, I'm not a traffic engineer, but I think that.
Right, but
internal
if they could
circulation
turn into
patterns-
Burger King and get in there, why add another curb cut in the property next door when they
Right.
could get in,
Right, but I believe they are entitled
What
to
they're
at least
entitled
one,
to.
ingress egress.
Okay, Carl, come join us. You can come and sit. Yeah,
Okay,
you got all the comments, right?
I did. Carl Benacasa, 860 Montauk Highway, Watermill, New York, for the applicant. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Carl.
Good to see you. I would simply ask that it be, there are a few times where the report notes that certain things need to be done. And I would simply ask that we say recommended to be done. And I will go through them now. It's recommended the parking be in the rear. That's,
Number, Carl.
well, I'm talking about number 4 now, but, which is fine. Number 5 says all parking needs to be situated in the rear. I would just ask that it is recommended all parking be situated in the rear. With respect to
It
number...
says the planning board recommends that the site plan be revised to situate the proposed buildings of the southern with parking in the rear.
4 is great.
She says recommend.
Yeah, but 5 I'm talking about.
I think
Recommends.
that's gonna be the substance of our discussion. My
Yeah.
concern is, it would be ideal to have a campus-style building, but as Teresa mentioned, it's not codified. My concern is that we push a building of this size up to the highway. It's almost gonna have a massive.
Lurching, kind of.
Yeah, I'm looking at the landscape plan, there's quite a healthy berm on the front here. Normally, if we would do a commercial site plan, yes, park to the back, these low-slung buildings, but this is a massive building,
Unless it's redesigned.
Unless it's redesigned.
unless it's
Yeah,
redesigned.
I mean, truly, the 5,000 square foot pods was to have a campus, 2 or 3 of these.
Yeah.
But how many square feet is this building?
15.
It's just under 15,000.
Right.
This was the
14.
original approval. If you remember, we were here, I mean, I wasn't here,
Yeah.
but in the early 2000s.
Yeah, this was,
It was approved all the way through, and then we're back picking up the ball again.
What was approved back then, Carl?
Exactly what we're proposing.
it wasn't approved. I think the application just was pulled or died or.
It had conditional approval.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was called Southampton Developers,
Yeah.
and it was exactly like this. This was the site plan. And it was approved and continued to be approved up until about 7 years ago.
Yeah.
And then the site plan lapsed.
Well, there's no doubt that the flow of traffic on County Road 39 has doubled, I mean, the impact of cars, and this is, it looks like a car lot,
Mhm.
And, I would not recommend berms and plantings, because you are changing the elevation, and you're gonna have a drainage issue, which we don't want. We don't want drainage on,
We
Flowing
would do
toward County
whatever
Road 39.
drainage mitigation structures you think are appropriate.
so, but that is the issue, Carl. I mean, I don't know, I know it's Farrell, right? They're developing it. They've got lots of plans and alternative plans and sites, I mean. So I certainly would recommend breaking up the mass of the building and locating it in the front so that it's attractive, and the parking in the rear. That's my input.
I understand what you're
appreciate
saying,
that.
but I also understand Dennis's point. I'm concerned about, massive structures that close to 39.
Well, that's what I was saying, break it up into 3
Break it.
buildings. That's the recommendation.
See,
I
that's-
sat on that study, the County Road 39, for a year and a half.
That's the problem with these studies.
Mhm.
They're
And then they're
drafted,
never-
And they
they're
were not
adopted,
codified.
and there's no code
Right.
backing them up.
But a lot of, Tom, were you on that?
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of thought went into that, to
Yeah.
try to improve County Road 39, and particularly vis-à-vis traffic and visualization.
The last major code amendment we had regarding these facilities is the size. That's in the code. 15, that's why you've got 14.8.
It's 14,999, right?
But it's frustrating because you spend hours, days, and taxpayer dollars on these
Yeah.
planning studies, AMIT studies, rate recommendations, and then crickets.
Yeah.
So I think in line with what everyone's saying, we wanted to scale back on the sort of definitive language in the report. And I just would ask that 5 be amended so that it says it is recommended all parking be situated in the rear. And that gives us flexibility to consider Dennis's points and
Yeah.
Jackie's points as well.
Is
I
it-
mean,
does it-
ideally, I think we support Jackie's
Parking in the back.
and Teresa's recommendation if you could create a campus style, but I don't know, it's not in the code. You're
It's not.
entitled to this size building.
Yeah.
If that's the case, I'm not sure I would want this building shoved up to County Road 39.
Are you
So
put-
is that
Are
parking?
you putting in the recommendation, though, that it be split up into,
I
Yeah.
think that's
put
in there.
that in there? 'Cause
Yeah,
that's-
it's in.
It's in there, and
Yeah,
I
it's
think we
in
would,
number 3.
and then we would keep
It's the
that.
one that's highlighted.
What do you think your client's inclination is to do that?
I can't
You can't
speak to
get
them. I know
second
that they're down the road on this building, based in large part on the fact that it was previously approved.
Right, but they shouldn't have done that, because
And,
that's 7 years ago. And times
so
have changed.
I can't tell you exactly the reaction would be. I would assume it would not, there would be a resistance. But
Your offices are in a nice campus style development over
we
there.
are, yes.
You know, that's, and that was the intent.
Definitely more sellable.
It gives you more ability to maneuver internally when the buildings are a campus style. And then to access that cross-access is a dream, you know.
Yeah, the cross-access.
That's just terrific that we actually have some of the connectors in place.
Sounds like we have everything in place.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just need to find the language of the Burger King, which Claire has done site plans on that parcel before, so she's positive we have it. We just need to find the
Yeah, I
actual.
know the fire district was giving us some pushback. Some of it
With
ran over the
respect to
fire
their
district.
land.
Yeah, but I don't know where that application died too. you know.
We'll have to check all of that.
I mean, you know, it's uses that go hand in hand, right? Medical offices and
Yeah.
fire and emergency services are kind of uses that go hand in hand. So that they have that internal circulation, it might be beneficial to them as well.
But they don't use, it's proprietarily owned. They're not using it for their
They're not using it,
operations.
but they,
Yeah.
when they came in for site plan, they suggested that our jurisdiction over imposing that is limited. We
Okay.
didn't officially butt heads on that part, but
Came
sort of
close.
heard them loud and clear.
Like a town story.
But the stress on County Road 39 is palpable.
Yeah,
Everybody writes about it. Every traffic consultant will have to do a traffic study. You know, it's just, you can't keep packing 99 cars in and out of a medical facility onto County Road 39.
To that point, number 6, about updating the existing traffic study, which I agree with 100%. Revised to acknowledge the increased traffic in the spring and fall. Certainly has increased in spring and fall, but it's increased in winter and summer too.
Yeah,
So
all four
we
seasons.
don't even need spring and fall in there, I think.
Okay, so I'll just change that to increased traffic throughout the year.
Yeah. And
But you do want counts without, through every quarter of the year, correct?
quarterly
Yeah.
traffic counts, I mean, can't hurt, I think, through lots of discussions here and in other places, I think we all know that the April, May, and October are probably the most typical of year-round traffic, but certainly can't hurt to get one, quarterly, but we may want to fine tune, is it April or May, or is it September or October? I think May and October are probably the two most average, if you can say that. But again, we might want to, and talk to VHB about it a little bit too.
I think that maybe we should also make mention of the fact that this is the evacuation route, and that this road is often shut down when there is a major accident, and even a minor accident. But having alternative access to this property becomes even more critical, particularly if it's medically related. If you can't get out of there and somebody needs an ambulance, what are you gonna do? You're gonna have a fatality.
We
Yeah.
agree completely.
Right, so,
but these are gonna be,
Cross-
yeah,
That
these-
cross-access is really important.
It is.
Very
for
important.
that.
Very important.
right.
just to clarify, Carl, these are offices. These are not like,
They're offices, but
Urgent care
it's not urgent care, but it'll have
Right.
screening facilities.
Right.
And it's conceivable that someone could be diagnosed with something there that they need to quickly get to
yeah,
a hospital.
it's not the type of thing where you need an ambulance bay or something like
No,
that.
nothing like that.
Okay.
But there will be screening rooms. so
Oh, yeah,
there'll be-
yeah. That's
Yeah, I mean,
typical.
it's not inconceivable that somebody goes in there and like they get their blood pressure taken and the doctor's like, you gotta go to the
No.
hospital now,
Hospital now.
and they call the ambulance, so,
Yeah,
those
Well,
are.
that's true.
Yeah.
That happens.
And so this berm that's indicated in the front landscaping, is that from the excavated garden? Is that what's happening in the middle? You're putting a recessed something?
I'm guessing the berm would come from fill.
From what you're digging up?
From what we're digging up,
Yeah.
yeah.
This is the Google Street View, if you wanna take a look, you can see it's relatively flat.
It's
There are a
flat.
couple of mounds of soil, throughout the parcel, but it's relatively flat.
Yeah. And I know the county put in drains after the fact on County Road 39. Do you remember that, Tom? They paved the road, then they had to go back and put in drains?
Yeah.
When they did that widening,
Yeah.
they spent several $1 million to work on the drainage.
Right. I
Is this-
don't know
is
where
this-
that actually is.
Where the sidewalks are going to?
Where's your water supply here? Town
It's,
water?
yeah, sure. There's a main on 39.
Oh, the sidewalk, yeah, there are sidewalks.
It's very tight, in there. Well, it's, Carl, you're gonna have to propose something to your,
I will take all your concerns.
maybe you
to-
can just have a small drawing done, possible, sometimes people respond better to a visual.
Not to my drawings. You'll have someone else's drawing.
You can't draw.
No, I can't draw. So, just going back, if we can make the parking in line with those comments, recommended, is recommended to be situated in the rear in 5, as well as in 11. It says consistent with item 3, parking needs to be provided in the rear. It is just, if you could change that to, it's consistent with item 3, parking is recommended to be in the rear. Are we adding solar and electric charging stations to 10? in
Under
line with
sustainability.
Yes, okay.
I think you heard 4, right? 4 charging.
Carl,
Six, six,
I'll,
five.
6 was the last.
She'll revise.
yeah, I'll amend the report and I'll email it to you. once
Thank
it's
you.
amended.
And then, I think that's about it. In 9, if we could make that a recommendation as well. We understand
Needs,
the concerns.
instead of needs to be abandoned.
Yeah, recommended to be
Yeah.
abandoned.
Teresa, were there any drawings in that County Road 39 study?
I think they had a whole set of guidelines, let's take a look real quick.
There were cross-access visuals in that study going all the way down. I don't know if this one was included, but I remember working with you on those.
Yeah, there's
Long time
definitely a
ago.
couple.
I think if you pull the
Right.
Burger King plan.
Was there a lawyer involved with that from the town attorney's
There were so
office?
many Burger King plans that the first ones we pulled didn't
There
have
was.
them.
There must
I
have
The
think
most
it's
recent
There were
revision.
about
way,
15
way
or
back.
12
Remember
on
we
that
had
committee.
one like 6,
I feel
7
like I
years ago when they redid
Yeah.
the facade? and
When did
that's
it
when we-
meet?
I might have been here.
I had all
Yeah,
my
we-
files
I remember
unless
we
I
had it
dumped
for a
them. I
while.
think maybe
Yeah.
I
Let
still
me-
have all my
I'm
County
gonna
Road
go track
39.
it
I bet
down
it's in that
before
When
file.
was it, Tom?
Well, there was an original cross-access plan developed around 2009, and then before it came to the board for adoption, it was folded into the corridor study. So it was actually kind of an amendment or an addendum to the corridor study. It was the access management plan.
Right.
It all got
that's-
adopted as
that's
one document.
2009,
so
2010?
2009, well, it was
Ah,
ultimately
there you
adopted,
go,
I think,
there's a
in
picture.
2014.
Right, so I
think.
believe this would be County Road 39 here, and then this would be an access to like an internal
There you go.
campus
I
setting.
think there were some aerials with, lines drawn across. I think it showed where we already had the cross-access Claire. and
Mm-hmm.
It was the end of that part of it, I think, was the end of the report. the
This is design
amendment.
guidelines now.
These are
so
design
you have to go back
guidelines,
to
right.
the access plan.
I'll review it. I know you have a lot of things
And
to
maybe
get
if
to.
you have a visual,
Yeah,
print
it was
out
this
some
section,
visuals,
think.
I think
No, this
you
is
may
it.
have less
Uh-huh.
resistance.
Okay.
No, you're right, Tom, no, there's an access management plan.
The
So,
access
yeah,
management plan is different.
Yeah.
I think it was at the end of that document, but, yeah, I'm sure we
Attached to
can
it?
find it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So just in conclusion, we're amending 5 to add recommended instead of needs, 9 to add recommended instead of needs.
All right, so all needs have to go to recommended.
Sustainability is going to add solar and electric charging stations in line with the calculation. And then 11 is from needs to recommended. And I think we're good. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Carl.
Campus-style buildings, which should be a real easy sell for you.
Should we adopt this now?
I'm sure.
No, I think.
Thank you
yeah,
very
we
much.
we can, but it would, yeah. Is this an action deadline?
Yes. It was an action deadline on September 14th.
Okay,
and Carl
so-
was kind enough to extend it.
So we'll adopt it, and you'll send us, Teresa, email the revised
Yep,
document?
absolutely.
So can I have a motion to adopt as amended?
Motion.
Motion by Craig, second by
Second.
Dennis, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions? 5 in favor, 2 absent.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Carl. I know it, yeah, he told me all about it before the meeting. Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna skip to item 16 now, the
Item
Indian,
16?
16 Indian Avenue LLC subdivision. We discussed this one at length at the last meeting. We just took out some of the recommendations and made the
Those in
amended
Fisher,
the
right?
report.
It's number 10.
Oh, 10,
Ten?
Is it
10,
16?
yeah,
Oh,
because
sorry.
it's 16. Yeah.
Number 10 is,
Number
number
10?
10, 16 Indian Avenue
Ah, there's a
LLC,
confusion.
go.
201 Springville Road.
Yes.
This one, we had discussed quite a bit at the last meeting, clearing and buffers and things of that nature. I had taken out some of those recommendations that you had discussed about removing, and it should be really just adopting the report at this point.
Do we have reports?
Yes, I just-
She sent it out.
Oh, I gave them to Christina.
Oh, I didn't
Oh.
see you did.
We got it early in the week.
Yes, I also emailed it to you.
Yeah.
So, again, it was discussed quite a bit at the last meeting. It is recommended that they go to, well, let me go back. They are going to need a road frontage variance in order to provide access from Coolidge because they don't have sufficient road access, frontage. If the required variance is granted, then they'll need to provide a standard subdivision application to the town. And it would need to be revised to identify the required access from Coolidge Road. In the event that existing utilities and road frontage and drainage structures on the road need to be relocated, they should be shown on the map. It should note that any encroachments inclusive of driveways on the parcel to the east will be removed, and the application should include an updated survey showing the current conditions inclusive of existing clearing. And it needs to note that the IA sepsis system is required on the proposed lot 2, and a phase 1B should be provided for archaeology on the vacant parcel.
Phase 1 and B.
Yep.
Did we review this?
Yes, at length.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, is
Yeah,
Wayne
he's
out
waiting
there?
out there.
Hold on, let's see if Wayne wants to speak.
Sorry, I assumed he was here, but then he was here a second ago.
He wa-
He was right here. No, he's not here, but he's seen this, right?
Yes, I emailed this to
Yeah.
him.
Motion to adopt it.
Okay, no discussions, anybody? Motion to adopt by Dennis, second by
Second.
Craig, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, 5 in favor, 2 absent. As adopted, thank you, Teresa.
Thanks, Teresa.
You're welcome. Have a nice afternoon. Let me just get my plans.
You too.
Let me just find out before I start our number 3, Hampton 6 Realty. Kevin, is there anybody on Zoom? This, real quick with the board, I don't think the applicant for this was able to be here today. This is where we're talking about the connection, but I got wind that as relates to the town side, they have some issues, the town and the post office, with closing off that access that goes to good ground. Remember, we talked about having that closed off, so the plan's going to change, I think, and I wanted to have that discussion, but I did want to have the applicant
Well,
here.
that's the town, the post office has their own access. That was never in discussion.
Right, what was initially said was we were gonna try to have this closed off.
Right.
And it was shown on the plan, And I think the post office came back. Is that where we had our discussion?
Well, the post office has a separate one. I don't know if the aerial shows it. They have a separate gate. I think it's, yeah, it's somewhere,
The issue was the
East of
town
there.
board wanted
post office has no jurisdiction
the
of that.
post,
Yeah, maybe it was the town, was it the
it
town?
was the town board.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They
So
wanted-
I wanted to have the discussion, but I wanted the applicant to be here because it could change how their site plan gets designed.
What does the Hampton-based Hamlet study show?
This is all about a mailbox, Dennis.
Yeah.
This is all about,
But if there's nobody here, I'm
if
probably
we
just gonna-
close that off, then the mailbox goes, and the town board said you can't do that. and-
I'll pick the mailbox up
Right?
and move it, you know.
I know.
So we're probably actually just gonna pull that from the agenda. I don't wanna have a discussion without the applicant's engineer here, when it's gonna affect how they're gonna design
That's terrible.
their, it is,
It's just,
I'm
it's,
very familiar with that intersection, and Good Ground's a busy road, and the cars are queued up, and there's a break in the traffic, and it's like this.
that is the board had a discussion at length, and the board was like, something's gotta be closed off the good ground onto grid ground, and it should be this right here. That's really what the
Yeah.
board had said. And then I got back and word from the town board that they said that's not gonna happen, so I've got
Well,
to
what, is it, can we close off the other one then, maybe?
potentially.
Oh.
And that's why I wanted the applicant here, because that,
Yeah.
that affects their site plan, so,
but didn't we have a discussion about the mailbox that was driving all of this?
yeah.
But the
Could it be
mailbox has
closed
to
to the
be on the
public?
left side of a
Potentially.
car.
Again, I don't have the applicant here, so I don't, you know, and I don't have Janice here either, but we'll pull it from the agenda so we can have a meaningful
Oh, yeah.
discussion when I have.
But it's action
I don't
deadline.
see off.
We could, I spoke to the applicant, because I'm meeting with the applicant on Monday, so we're gonna do an extension of the action deadline till October 12th.
So we have to motion, we have to vote on the extension to
Yes.
when?
October
To
12th.
October 12th.
Motion.
Motion by Dennis,
Second.
second by Craig, all in favor.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, 5 in favor, 2 absent. It's extended to October 12th.
Number 6, 32 Hill Station Road. That's actually also gonna be an extension until October 12th. I just got the engineers and the comments this week, so.
Okay, motion?
Motion.
Motion by Dennis, second by
Second.
Kate, all in favor.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, 5 in favor, excuse me, 2 absent.
200 North McGee Street is next.
All right.
I have copies in case.
Thanks.
Everybody remembers the 200 North McGee Street? This was a 2-lot subdivision. I don't know why my aerial's all messed up here, but this was the piece, and we held this open because there was the dispute between this property
Oh,
owner and
yes.
this
Oh,
property
yes,
owner.
yeah.
And so the survey, you know, so subsequent, the survey came in and we see driveways are clearly on the properties that are supposed to be on. There's a fence that's on the property line that's delineated between here and here. Now, the question will ultimately become, and we'll have the discussion when I go through the resolution, is do you want to keep that fence going up for the length of the, you know, the flag, or do you want to put trees there or some other type of screening between these two so we could, you know,
Whose fence is it?
it's the subdivider. It's on this, on the north side of the flag strip, which was designed to sort of help address this issue. And then the question becomes, you know, do you continue it up the whole length of the flag strip and then continue a buffer to the end between these two property owners, given the, you know, history between them? And it's in the resolution as a discussion, so I'll look
Okay,
into
so you
it.
want to go over it?
So if the board looks at the resolution, on the bottom of page 1 there, we'll just go to the findings. This had a pre-application report in October of 2021, and the map is in agreement with that. The Suffolk County Department of Health Services approved this map dated November 4th, 2022, and it was subject to a board of review from October 27th of 2022.
Is this the right?
I don't know, if we don't have that one.
This is not the right.
This is Rose Hill Road.
This is Rose Hill Road. This is not 200 North McGee Street.
You gave me Rose Hill Road. You went to the back.
Keep this.
You don't need to know about Rose Hill Road.
No.
But we'll hang on to ours.
You should hang on to that other one too.
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay, try again here.
It's good when it has a title up page on it.
Yeah. One of the two has the title there, if you notice.
50, you're batting 50.
You know what, though, Jackie, one is done in the actual agenda system, one was just done on Word, that's the difference between the two. So we're 200 North and Gay Street, so it's the bottom of page 1 there, where we talked about the pre-application report and the health department approval. Page 2 just provides the date of the map and who prepared them. Number 4, this was a type 2 action under secret, so no further environmental review was required. I don't know, this was a not finished sentence, and it's grayed out for some reason, but I just talked about the date of the public hearing. It was continued on August 10th. You might remember it was closed with a 30-day written comment period. We got comments from the adjacent property owner and their representative regarding an ongoing legal dispute and a request for, what it should say, for proper screening between the two properties, because that's really where, was to make sure that the driveways were separated and not, interfering with each other, and that there would be buffering between the two properties. Number 6, that's going to be a $2,500 park fee. Number 7, single common driveway serving both lots. And number 8, this is not subject to the Long Island Workforce Housing. The next one on page 2, to the bottom, those are just the requirements of the engineer. The ZBA variance for the 15-foot flag strip was in fact granted. And the rest are just the standard comments, fees, the 3-inch rainfall covenant, and then an advisory covenant for the owners of Lot 2 because of the slopes and potential in there for some flooding. And he recommends approval prior to the signature of, or addressing these prior to signature of the map, so they've been incorporated. The next one was from the Conservation Board.
Talk about slopes.
Yeah, so the slopes, this, let me see if I could just get to the map. So the slopes were identified here as the steep slopes. We could do, a slope easement, a covenant. I don't know how, if the board feels about this in this particular case, so I left it out as a discussion item. If they're going to do some type of, this all falls outside of the principal building envelope, it looks, obviously, so. I wanted to get the board's
Is it
thought on
APOD?
It's not APOD. It's not POD. This was just a recommendation about the slopes in there.
The 15%.
So the Conservation Board recommended, a slope easement or some type of, covenant. Let me just say, if the board's inclined to preserve the slopes, I would do slopes in the form of an easement as opposed to a
Yes.
covenant.
Yeah.
Covenant is nice and square and easy for me to do.
Yeah.
No, a slope easement.
A
Well, I
slope
mean,
easement. And there's also gonna be the notice covenant too that we're gonna put on. So if the board's inclined, we can certainly do an easement.
Does the slope go all the way around? It's a little hard to, anyway, blow up the topography?
It goes off site here. They only showed it here on site. So that's really the back portion of this site. You could actually sort of
What's
see.
directly south of that?
This is,
I don't know if this is final.
There's
this is
Yeah.
Suffolk County Water Authority site here. Oh, sorry.
I don't think that's the I don't know if it's the final version, but that's easier to see slopes.
well, I think they should be
There
protected.
was a
'cause they're
sand
gonna
mine
just-
somewhere around there.
Yeah, let me see. Hold on.
The aerial handy? Oh, there's a sand mine.
Oh, down here you see.
Yeah.
Yeah, the other side of it is, Dennis, depending on how comfortable the board is, because the engineer didn't say anything about a slope easement, but just said a notice covenant. So I sort of have two competing recommendations here in a way.
You can almost see it in the back, in the rear, because the Tuckahoe Woods parcel, you can see the big Tuckahoe Woods parcel.
Yeah.
I don't know about the side. The-
You want this back, Dennis?
So that go, did you see it, Kate?
I'd support an easement.
Yeah, I would support an easement too. I mean, it protects the integrity of the lot and drainage, you know.
Yeah. I don't have a problem with that. It's easier in this case, because like I said, most of it falls outside of the building envelope.
Yeah.
Makes it, an
Yeah.
easier sell to do, and you might have to go back to the client, I don't know.
But
But that was their recommendation in any case, so we'll get back to that. Bottom of page 3 and then on to page 4, no major recommendations from the fire marshal, as there's hydrants and public water. Trails advisory said there's no trails implications. We didn't receive any referral comments from the Hampton Bays Fire District or the Suffolk County Department of Health Services, although it is noted the health departments approved the map, so they don't typically respond on the final referrals. And actually, now that I'm thinking about it.
Is it Hampton Bays or Suffolk? Southampton Fire District?
Yeah.
It's not Hampton Bays.
Yes, I will fix that. Thank you. So then I have a resolution to approve the map with the following map changes. Compliance with the requirements of the town engineer. Note that it's a 20-foot wide common driveway and utility easement. That's how it should be stated on the map. Interestingly, I got a phone call today about a common driveway that was done way back in the 80s, and the health department came back and says, is this allowed for utilities? And there's nothing mentioned in this common driveway about utilities, so it's good that we state it that way, common driveway and utility easement. C, we will note to depict a slope easement for those areas of the 15% or greater slopes on the property.
For lot 2.
So we'll do that. The other one was the fencing and additional buffer on the north side of the flag strip. You know, I left this open for discussion, given the situation that we were dealing with. So, you know, the question is, do you continue a fence line up there, or do we continue some type of tree line along the property line to sort of just create this buffer that the neighbor was asking for and recommending as part of the, which I don't have an issue with, you know. When we get these driveways that are so close together that have nothing to do with each other, maybe the best way is to delineate it.
Well, has the dispute been resolved?
It's still ongoing. We resolved it such that we could act by virtue of the fact that they moved the disputed area off of the site plan, so it's not a part of this.
Okay. There's no
Determination.
longer any infringement or any of that
That's right.
If it is, it's off of, it has nothing to do with
with this lot. So this lot has a fence and
Yeah,
a
there's a-
buffer?
the beginning.
Yeah,
Just
like
at the
for a
beginning.
portion of it here.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and the question is, do you continue it up? You
I
move
don't
it to
see
the end
why-
of the flag strip, and then, you know, do you want to do a line of trees between, this, again, I put it for a
They're
discussion,
gonna have
because
a
this is what came
pruning
out.
dispute.
Was that?
Then they'll have a pruning dispute.
Well, yeah, you're not kidding.
Yeah.
We get a lot of those inquiries as well.
What
Fence
about
might be
fence?
less path of least resistance.
Yeah, Liz, come up.
Liz,
And Anthony, can you zoom in a little bit too?
Give us the
I
name
want
for the
to, but
record.
they
Liz.
changed my,
Liz Vale, Greenberg Trauer, 2317 Montauk Highway, Bridgehampton. Hi, everyone. How are you?
Good.
Fence
So
or
tell us
trees?
about this.
I think,
Fence or trees?
my understanding is that I believe the applicant would prefer trees, but I wasn't aware of the slope easement, so I would like to adjourn any final action until I have a chance to talk with the client and just explain the slope easement and the trees versus the fence, if you're, particularly if you're gonna.
Trees would be nice.
Yeah, I mean-
Much better.
Yeah.
we're good with trees.
I'm gonna go through the rest of the resolution.
Yeah.
And then we're gonna adjourn it, but
Okay.
that's
Okay. Thank
We
you.
can. So, all right, so good on those two. E's, the postal delivery numbers. F and G talk about the proper notations that have to go on the map relating to covenants and restrictions and the common driveway utility easement. And G is a compliance statement regarding zoning. 2, compliance with the requirements of the town engineer and signature of the common driveway plan prior to signature of the final plat. 3 is the acknowledgement affidavit that we received regarding the subdivision regulations and the common driveway. 4 is the submission of the covenants and restrictions. A will be no further subdivision of any lots. Next, no lot line modifications without planning board approval. All utilities should be installed underground. No new utilities for lots 1 and 2. And it should say for C, by the way, all new utilities shall be installed underground. E is the 3-inch rainfall requirement. F is the retention of the stormwater on site during and after construction. G is the notice covenant that's recommended by the engineer regarding the potential flooding and the mitigations or the measures to mitigate. By the way, that'll be referred during the building permit application. It goes to them for a review for flooding issues. H talks about the common driveway and utility easement. I talks about construction and inspection of the common driveway prior to issuance of any building permits. And J talks about compliance with the requirements of the Office of Fire Prevention regarding driveway standards. I will note, and we'll put it on for discussion for the next time, but depending on what Liz says, obviously the covenants will be revised to include the buffering along the north there via fence or trees, and Lot 2 would be subject to a slope easement. So that will be changed, we'll put it on. 5 is submission of the common driveway and utility easement. Again, there may be a 6 with the slope easement. She's going to speak to her clients, see what they say. Payment of the park fee, a mortgage consent if applicable, town attorney approval of all legal documents, submission of 4 Mylars and 10 paper prints when this is all said and done, for signature, and then filed in the office of the county clerk within 62 days.
Thank you. Liz?
Since the action deadline actually isn't to the 25th here, so
Liz
we
can
don't
come
need to
back.
do an action
Yes.
deadline, we
Yeah.
can just adjourn it to the next meeting, and I'll give a revised
That's
one.
okay.
And Liz will come back and with her.
Is October 25th the right date?
October,
No.
it's
It's in 2 weeks.
12.
The 12th.
12.
October 12th.
Were there any other issues, Liz, other than
No,
that?
those are my only
That's
issues, I
it?
believe, yeah. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, board members. I just need my map back, okay.
You want to do
By the way,
roads?
all these are, I've taken over for other planners, that's why you'll see them jammed up by trying to finish some of these other ones. Rothman Dynasty, we're actually just gonna do an extension of the action deadline until October 26th.
Which one is that?
That's
Number
item
8,
8, yep,
Till October 26th?
yes.
so Rothman Dynasty, Lower Seven Ponds Road, I'm doing this for the minutes.
Sorry.
Extension to October 26th, and we have a motion.
Motion.
Motion by Craig, second by
Second.
Dennis, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions. Rose Hill Road, we have the report.
You do.
You got it.
So, board members, this is the one in Watermill, this is the old convent
The old
site.
convent, yeah.
That the board did a covenant amendment to eliminate the no further subdivision provision in exchange for getting rid of the 54-bedroom convent and allowing for 2 single-family residences, one in the front, one in the back. The board, again, this was a Matt's or Jackie's, I don't remember. The board will remember it was a flag strip for the lot here, then the lot in the front where the convent is, and we're subsequently come down with a strip of land coming over to Hayground Cove to provide water access for that property. We did the 239 wetlands referral, and everything was in the resolution there. I will say the Conservation Board approved the 239 referral as it's written in the resolution, so we'll go through that. So just real quick, the big issue that we're going to be dealing with is really the expansion of this already existing scenic and conservation easement, a re-veg in that area because it's been largely cleared. And that should include both passive and active revegetation. And then because of, the issue, again, we had some neighbor concerns here, the question about preserving the screening, this existing screening along the south property line, that was mentioned. So we'll talk about those
And
issues.
is that, can you make that site plan a bit bigger? Where is the proposed house going to be on Lot 2?
So what we do is during these 239 referrals, we establish the setbacks. I actually do have plans for a proposed house, but the planning board doesn't typically approve specific house, pool, and all that. They set the setbacks and the buffer requirements. So as long as the structures meet the wetland setbacks that you're establishing and the buffers and everything else, they typically don't show on a final map the improvements. But what I will show you, Jackie, is
It would be helpful to see it.
Yeah,
because
no,
this was a very controversial map,
Yeah, no, I agree with you. If you look here, this is where the existing conservation easement is. Here's the wetlands line that was flagged and verified by the town. The 75-foot setback follows this line here. And so this easement's actually gonna be increased to that 75-foot setback. Then the 100-foot setback line, which starts over here, Jackie,
Yeah.
would be the structural setback for structures.
Okay,
And then the 150-foot setback would be the setback for sanitary system. The 125-foot setback's not applicable here. So the closest would be 100 feet for structures here, plus a 75. When we had this discussion, it was very lengthy. The idea was, we treated it, you know, even though it has a pool on there now and everything, we sort of treated it as if it was an improved property and gave them the benefit of the setbacks that you would get on an improved property, with the agreement that we would increase the size of the buffer in doing so. So that's, again, this was all discussions before I took it over, but we did get the
Brian, you
increased
can
buffer.
come
Yeah,
up.
of course. So I have.
Was this the one where they had like improved structures across the conservation easement also, or that was a different
I don't think so.
property?
There was.
I don't.
Because there was something on the
Old
map where
dock or
it shows like a
something like
dock
that.
or something.
But there's no,
There's
that
steps?
map, there's
That
no-
shows a proposed dock there.
Oh.
Yeah, so that's gonna be removed.
Right,
from-
It's-
because there was another one that
There has
had,
been some clearing, a couple of paths that I think.
Brian,
have been
Yeah,
identify
cleared.
yourself.
Yeah,
There
Brian,
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, go ahead,
Brian Locascio with the Adam Miller Group, Bridgehampton, New York, attorney for the applicant.
Okay, Good, do
There
you
were
wanna-
some discussions at the last public hearing about access to the water and docks. Our plan does not propose any docks. We understand we're gonna have to revegetate the buffer. We've submitted a planting plan some time ago, so you have a planting plan that's subject to the town's approval, but we have submitted a plan to restore the buffer, as well as screen the property line based on the comments from the neighbor, that they want adequate screening.
yeah.
So that plan has been submitted, subject to review, but we accept those comments and plan to,
Okay. And you have sufficient space to build a house and a pool?
yes.
Yeah, I'm gonna actually
ahead.
go through those
Yep.
setbacks where
Go
we
ahead.
get there. So, on this resolution, the pages are not numbered. First page there, again, these are the findings. Number one talks about the health department approval, along with the covenants that they required. Two talks about when the pre-app report was adopted in November of 2021. This map is consistent with the recommendations and findings in there. This was a type 2 action under SECRA, so no further environmental review was required. We had a final hearing in May, and it was closed with a 30-day comment period, and comments from the adjacent property owners were received and discussed, as you know. This number 5 here, it's so rare that I say this, but this is one where the flag lot requirement, the 1.5 times, was met in this case. You don't get that very often, actually, that 1.5 times the minimum.
In the body of the lot.
Yeah, so here we
Well,
got that.
half of it is wetlands, so.
Yeah, but, well, it's, no, it include the upland area, believe it or not. The upland area made it
Yeah.
over, yeah, it was good. They're gonna have to pay here, sorry, I'm not gonna give you any credit for the convent that was there, so it's $5,000.
Understood.
The archaeological, despite it being a type 2 action, they had to do the archaeological phase 1A and 1B, and didn't find anything on the property. The planning board is requiring a 75-foot scenic and conservation easement, so that's being increased from what's there before, and that's noted in here. Portions of the scenic and conservation easement have been cleared. All mowing activities shall cease. The area should be allowed to naturally recover via vegetative succession, as well as a revegetation plan to be approved by the planning board.
And
I would
we-
like to add, I want, a subject to review by Marty's office. I want, if it's gonna have an upland wetlands plan, I think Marty's office should be the one to review that, as opposed to me. So I'll just refer it to him.
Okay.
You normally would anyway.
do they put like a split rail fence along the edge of that, since it could be easy to
Typically don't
encroach, or?
on-
We do it against the open space parcels, typically. A lot of times, Marty's office usually doesn't delineate them against the buffers. I think it's because more than anything, they're trying to maintain some type of natural appearance of the, but so they don't
Mhm.
typically require it, but, I'll let you.
Leave it to Marty.
Well, certainly.
See what Marty has to say.
Sure. Number 11 is about the DEC permit, which we actually got something from them, so I'll put in the date. Note that they note in the approval that they still have to go get wetlands permits for the individual construction of those lots, so that's noted in there. Must be, yep, see, individual permits must be obtained. So once the subdivision's done, they gotta go back to the DEC and get more permits, so,
Okay.
so they're noticed. Number 12, this got raised, DEC, in order for a property to have the ability to have a dock, has to have a minimum of 30 feet wide on the waterfront. So the flag strip is 20 feet wide down to the water, but then increases to 30 feet. You know, to as you get closer to Hayground Cove, it's a requirement.
But
of
you
the
said there
DEC.
was no dock.
No dock.
There's no dock being
dock's
proposed.
I'm just saying that's a DEC requirement. We're gonna get to the dock discussion, because of, you know, conservation, but I think Dennis will recall, we've had these discussions on that they're typically not something the planning board regulates or gets into, because it gets into rights of the water and everything. So the covenant buffer along the southerly property boundary, so I think we'll just say that there's gonna be a covenant buffer along the southerly property boundary and to maintain a hedge of evergreen screening. So we'll maintain that.
Yeah, the idea is we would agree in the covenant that will maintain screening consistent with the approved planting plan.
And we're gonna, by the way, the planting plan, because it's a condition of approval, I'm gonna bring it to this board, so everyone
Okay.
looks at it, yeah.
Correct.
Right, the next page. Office of Fire Prevention, standard requirements, and we're good on public water and hydrants. The town engineer provided some comments here. The big thing talks about, as you know, SWIP and speedies, so we always incorporate those requirements into our covenants and restrictions. So we did address that, and most of the rest of it's very straightforward with him, talks about the fees and 3-inch rainfall, but nothing out of the ordinary. Conservation Board had some recommendations here. Again, they had recommended increasing the buffer to the 100-foot setback. We had the discussion and we kept it, we increased it to the 75, and the Conservation Board approved that last night at their meeting. They talk about a revegetation of the easement area, which we are doing. A notice, it talks about here about a notice covenant about the town regulated wetlands. We typically don't do a notice covenant of that, because this board's approval is the wetlands permit approval for 3 years. Once 3 years comes and goes, the applicant doesn't have a wetlands permit approval, and they gotta go back to the Environment Division.
Well, this is just a flag. I mean, they're just telling you
Yeah.
what the reg is.
Yeah, I mean, we could put it in, I'm just saying.
It makes a complete report.
Okay, we could do that. And then number 6 talks about a shared dock for both properties. As again, we've had this discussion many times on waterfront properties, and it's just not something that the planning board, we don't approve docks. That's done with the trustees, it's done with the Environment Division. Your subdivision approval doesn't give them any approval of docks. They would still have to go to the other agencies to get them. DEC, town trustees, the Conservation Board, the Army Corps of Engineers, and the Department of State.
But our approval of the subdivision and the easement width
Does
then
allow for it.
allows for
Yeah.
it.
Yep.
What if we don't want it?
Well, what I would say is at the time of the pre-app would have been the time for the board to say,
Mhm.
cut off the access to the water. Only because
Yeah, I mean,
that's,
this
I
is
mean, at the
not-
final stage, it came with the map that, because this always showed the access to the water.
Right, access to the water, but then also a dock, then you're bringing, you know, a
What I would
boats
say
in.
is if the planning board is okay with having the second, you know, the flag strip to the water,
Mhm.
you know, that's acknowledging that they could potentially get it on
Mhm.
But you don't want to disturb the whole buffer area.
No, but the buffer areas will, like they always do, all easements and buffer areas along the water account for access to the water. They do allow for that.
Just a 4-foot wide path.
It's usually a
Mm-hmm.
4-foot wide path, and that's it. So you don't get, you know.
I mean, it's not,
It's not
no, it's
shown.
not shown yet, but it would be limited, wherever we decide to have access, each lot would only be limited to a 4-foot path to the water.
So lot 1 has a flag strip
that gives them access to the water.
Correct.
Correct.
Lot 2 doesn't have access to the water.
Lot 2 is waterfront.
Lot 2 is the waterfront.
It has
Except it's
hundreds
got
of
a-
feet of waterfront.
It's got 100
It's,
feet
it's
of
got, yeah, I mean,
conservation.
all of, yes, but we would be permitted under the language of the conservation easement, a 4-foot path, 1 4-foot path to provide us
That's
access to the
lot
water.
2, Tom.
But they wouldn't be able to build a dock then, because they.
Not
don't
without
have-
all the
they
records
don't
and
have the-
approvals. There's
Right.
nothing here granting any approval for docks, nor are we seeking any approval for docks.
Okay.
We're
So
requesting
then we go
approval for a
back to the
flag lot.
trustees
We
for
have,
that.
correct.
Conservation Board, trustees, DEC, Army Corps, Department of State.
Okay.
So, item number 12, I guess that's where I'm confused, is like, are we leaving the door open for a 4-foot wide path to access and enjoy the water? Or are we leaving it open for a 20 to 30-foot wide?
No, the 20 to 30 foot
The
wide
30
is
foot.
just the flag strip that's touching, the waterfront to give them the legal water frontage. That if the DEC was to consider a dock for that property, they need the 30 feet there. That doesn't give them 30 feet wide of anything. They could still only have a 4-foot wide path.
To get down to
To
it.
get down to the
So
water.
lot 1 has the 30-foot wide.
Lot 1 has the
Access.
30
Water
foot wide,
frontage.
and lot 2
Water
here is the
frontage.
full.
Mhm.
You can see here.
And lot 2 has no, other than the 4-foot.
And just, this isn't the most current map, so while
Oh,
there is a
sorry.
dock, that dock has been removed and is not a part of the
I
plan.
probably raised it before. and
Yep.
removed it from the map.
So this
Oh, yeah,
is,
because that shows a dock.
Yeah.
so as you see here, it's not current, there's no dock on this map.
You'll submit a revised
I
plan?
mean, it's been submitted, but I'll gladly resubmit again.
Because there's
Anthony-
gonna be some other map changes here, they're final
Yes,
map
yes.
regardless. Because the other side of it is the proper agencies that are gonna cite any type of structural proposed code or wetlands will decide where that should go.
Yeah.
And, not this board. I don't know if this is the right look. And plus, they gotta do soundings and get water depths and all that.
But you're agreeing to, or we're agreeing, and you're restricting each lot to only a 4-foot wide ability to clear to get to the water.
That's the code, right?
That's
Is
the
that
code, and that's what our buffer pursuant to this report will require or mandate.
The buffer, we will only allow for each lot to have 4 feet.
4
of
feet.
water.
Yeah.
So we can't
And
clear
is
cut
that
and
an
have a.
elevated walkway or what?
That'll be subject to conservation. Board.
Yeah.
Conservation or the environment?
Well, the Environment Division,
Marty,
Conservation
right.
Board, Marty's office.
Because in some instances, we've had elevated walkways,
Yeah.
so as not to disturb the vegetation.
Yeah, and they allow light, and that would likely be what would be required if anything were proposed, but again, that's something.
They
we would-
specify that.
Correct.
Yeah, and clearly Marty's office is probably better equipped to
Yep.
review that.
Okay.
Great.
Let me see
You have a highlighted,
Oh, that was just the referral for the 292, which was done last night, so I'll just put last night's date in there. I got the memo this morning, that they approved it. So we have a resolution to approve this subdivision map changes. The map has to be changed. You went with 325 Rosehill that was submitted, so that's,
Yep.
let's keep the map consistent.
Okay.
Show the expanded scenic and conservation easement
Yep.
to 75 feet. We need the postal addresses for each of the properties. Remove all the proposed structures and the building envelopes from the map.
I have one comment and recommendation on that point,
Okay.
is that we denote the 50% reduced rear yard setback under 330-83K,
So
which allows us to have a building envelope retreating from the wetlands. There's a provision in the town code that allows the governing authority under a wetlands permit to reduce the principal setback by up to 50%. And we're-
So, well, just under 330-83K of the town code, the approving authority, Conservation Board or Wetlands, Conservation or Planning Board, in establishing buffers and setbacks, can reduce the principal rear yard setback in order to maximize those.
It's this line here.
But you can't go less than 30 feet no matter what, so, what do you show the setback?
We're at 50, which is,
You're at 50, so the rear yard setback, in this case, the waterfront is the front yard, so the rear yard there is opposite. They would normally have a 100-foot setback from that spot, and we would allow them to have the 50 under that section of the code in order to keep the structures as far as.
Okay.
it's greater
Okay.
building, upland building envelope,
Yeah.
and I think it
Got
makes
it.
So
sense just.
that's,
yeah,
we could put
that's
that
the
in there.
code, yeah.
Yep. So I would just
as it
ask for that
relates to
change in
D, I'm
D.
gonna fix D,
Yep.
so it notes that that setback can
Thank you.
actually stay. The changes is required by the engineer. F, G, and H are just map notations. 2 is the park fee for $5,000. 3, covenants and restrictions. Again, no further subdivision, no lot line changes without planning board approval. All new utilities shall be underground. For all lots. 3-inch rainfall required by the engineer. The speedies coverage. Again, this always talks about if the ownership changes, that the new owners are aware that they're subject to this speedies permit requirement. G is the retention of stormwater on site. Lot 2 is subject to a scenic and conservation easement extending 75 feet landward of the wetlands. Actually, that's lots 1 and 2, isn't it?
Yeah, it should be, you're right.
It's lots 1 and 2. I was forgetting, the little 30-foot strip that goes to the water is in that easement area, so it should be lots 1 and 2. So I'll fix that. Same thing for I. Because the scenic and conservation easement incidentally is also the same as the buffer zone that's being required. So I like to just use both terms. This only does apply to lot 2. J, lot 2 is subject to a minimum of 100-foot setback for structures. Lot 2 is a minimum, should be 150 for that.
Correct.
Thank you for pointing that out. 150 for wastewater. Lot 2 regarding the installation of leaders and gutters. M talks about the project limiting fence and hay bale requirements at the 75-foot buffer line, which is a standard wetlands requirement. N talks about the notification of the planning board prior to commencement of any activities, because we do inspect as it relates to the wetlands. And then, I'm gonna put lot 2 subject to a covenanted buffer along the southerly property boundary to maintain a hedge or evergreen planting plantings. And we'll reference, I guess there's gonna be a planting plan.
Yeah, we'll
Planting
maintain
plan.
screening, substantially similar to that as approved on the, and we can define the planting plan.
Yeah, make sure I put the planting
For
plan
the
in there.
planting.
Because there were specific trees that the neighbor wanted called out, which we called out to preserve, as well as our own screening we wanted to install to just, and that's all on our plan.
Okay.
And we can make sure it's all approved and clearly referenced, and that'll be in our,
Okay. I'll reference the
covenant.
plan and I'll bring it back to the planning board so we could formally approve it. 4 talks about submission of a conservation easement extending 75-foot landward of the wetlands line. And A, B, and C talks about the requirements, which allows for.
Is C is the dog?
Hold on. All right, those say they're subject to those approvals. I'm okay with that.
Can you give the code reference?
Yes. That one I don't know off the top of my head, but I will give you the.
for C,
I thought you
yeah.
just
Oh,
said
3.
it.
Well, the setbacks was 330,
Oh, all right.
3K. Well, that one I don't know, but I will put it in there for you.
Okay.
5 is the vegetation plan for the expanded scenic and conservation. I want robust plantings. If it's, I'll look at it and see what
Yep.
we did in there.
Yeah, let me know in the
But
comments.
a mix of natural and
And
I'm okay
evergreen.
with natural too, because it helps to make it look.
Yeah, the
more organic.
grasses and
Yep.
evergreens, yeah.
But we had a plan designed and submitted to
Okay,
address those
I'll
comments,
pull
so.
it in and take a look.
Yep.
6, submission of a mortgage consent. 7, town attorney approval of all legal documents. 8, town board acceptance of the scenic and conservation easement. It's expanded, so it does have to be accepted by them. 9 is the Mylars and paper prints. 10, submission of all these for planning board signature, and then submit filing those maps within 62 days.
Anything else, Brian?
No, I was,
No?
with what we discussed, I'm happy with this resolution, and I
Okay.
appreciate all of your efforts here, everyone.
Good. Okay, motion to approve by Dennis, second by Tom, all in favor. Opposed, abstentions, 5 in favor, 2 absent. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your day.
You too.
Yep. Yeah, thank you as always.
Okay, Jane Frith?
Yeah, so, I'm gonna have the
Report?
applicant, probably gonna come up to the table and
Yeah,
have a
do you have a
discussion with you.
report?
So, there's no report on this one.
Oh,
Remember,
okay,
so-
just a
look,
discussion.
Here's the gist of, everyone's familiar with the property.
Yes,
It's
very.
You know, it's a beautiful property. What we have is a density incentive subdivision that was submitted. Now, whether the yield, the as-of-right yield is 7 lots or 8 lots, I'm still working that out as I'm working with the applicant, but that's not the most important part of this, because we're talking about a difference of 1 lot. And I think their ultimate subdivision design basically says we'll accept the lower yield and move forward like that. The ultimate question for the planning board, and I have the aerial up here, so it's the property in relation to, you know, the preserved land around there. And the ultimate question for the planning board is to, because it's discretionary, is whether or not a density incentive for affordable housing is appropriate at this site. One of the criteria is the environmental sensibility, you know, sensitivities of the site. I want to start off by saying that I absolutely appreciate the property owner's willingness to try to work with the town to do affordable housing. Nobody's ever come to us to do that. I also appreciate the fact that they want to maximize and work with CPF to help fund this project. That, you know, I don't fault the property owner for that at all. I think that's quite all right. But it doesn't, you know, whether or not the property is still appropriate for a density incentive subdivision, and that's where I'm sort of grappling with this issue. Is because they have avoidance areas when you're doing density incentive, and density incentive avoidance areas are areas with significant wetlands. You know, it's just by way of history, and I'm going to let the applicant, you know, speak to you. Back in, you know, the 90s, back in 1994, the planning board was contemplating at that time a 4-lot, large lot subdivision here. You know, with basically just 4 large lots. As they were reviewing that application, you know, they were considering the 4 lots, the planning board issued a negative declaration. Back in '93 then, I believe the town's wetlands regulations were updated and incorporated, and then some information came back from the DEC regarding some endangered species, so the planning board rescinded the neg deck, and we're moving towards a possible pos deck on a 4-lot subdivision. I know that was a gazillion years ago, different board, but the environmental conditions are what they are out here. So I'm grappling with the concept of a density incentive on this property because it doesn't meet the criteria per se. Notwithstanding the fact that we have a desperate affordable housing need in this town.
Well,
So, so this is what I think you could understand why this is more complicated than.
right. Well, there is some affordable housing in the concept stage just right across the road, so. I mean, by the.
Where would that be?
We just had a work session.
Where the,
By the, oh, okay.
yeah.
Okay, because I
So-
mean.
So let me just, Anthony, can you just pinpoint the environmental issues here? A good portion of it is wetlands, and if you could just run down,
Yeah.
we have DEC regulated wetlands.
Yeah, freshwater wetlands.
Do you have an
There's-
overlay of
There is, he's got a map that probably shows.
Jim can
right,
explain
the-
that since you, it's been going
Oh,
on
But
for
okay.
there's
4 years.
substantial of wetlands.
Right.
You have standing water in parts, and obviously, I think, you know, big section here, and you can probably see on the map much easier up there, the significant wetlands. So, you know, then you have, you know, wetland setbacks, obviously, and septic systems and all the rest of it. And then which they were dealing with the DEC, they have the Tiger Salamander issue, so the DEC's imposed various, or will be imposing various
Setbacks.
well, setback requirements, habitat restoration is part of their approval. So again, just, you know, the ultimate question is, do you put increased density on a property? That's the big issue, are the wetlands.
Thank you, Anthony. Okay, can you all identify yourselves for the record, please?
Jim Walker from InterScience.
Karen Pate Murphy, attorney of Counselor Burke and Sullivan, 41 Meeting House Lane, Southampton, New York, 01968, and
Jane Fritz, owner of the property.
Welcome. Okay.
before Jim starts, I'd just like to say, you know, this has been going on for 4 years. Going back 30 years when there wasn't even any concern for affordable housing. Now we have an incentive to have affordable housing. We have 3 existing lots on these property. We have 2 proposed
large lots will be on the Sag Harbor Turnpike, and the 3 proposed affordable lots will be on the highway.
Can we just stand?
I'll stand this up for them so I can. does
So
that help?
really, there's only 5
Anthony, there's an
5
easel
new
right there.
lots, because, and 3 of those will be affordable. And now we're considering getting rid of affordable. I guess I just want to be clear what the purpose of this meeting is.
Yeah,
That,
all
you know,
right.
as a resident of the town, that we're in desperate need of affordable housing, that we might possibly have to give up all those 3 lots.
Okay.
All right, I just want that to be on the record.
Anthony, if you bring it over here to the,
Yeah, put this one up. Over here?
Right here.
Jim, do you need to deal, you
Yeah,
need to
let's-
point
let's
to
go
it?
right here.
Yeah.
So, last time we came in front of the planning board, it was a little surprising because we started to deal with issues that we weren't asked to deal with prior. When I first was involved with this project, we were asked to go to the DEC and get a non-jurisdiction letter, which I did. We were also asked to go to the Natural Heritage Program, get documentation for tiger salamanders. These are dug ponds. These ponds were created to make bricks. The brick operation was there, and if you go to that site, there are waste bricks all over the place. The oven is gone, according to Jane. They removed it some years ago, but this is a family-owned property, and she's been trying to deal with her estate issues. So we went to the current planning division, we met with Jacqueline Fenlon, and we met with Diane Weir, and Karen may remind of other people that were
I
there.
met with Karen Karabak
We-
recently.
We met with all these people to determine what to do, and I was told to go to the DEC. So we were told to put 4 affordable housing lots up there, 2 CPF lots here. The idea with the 2 CPF lots is to pay for the habitat restoration that we have to do here and allow the estate to successfully finish the subdivision. Since then, we have been told to reduce the amount of affordable housing lots to 3.
Jim, can you tell us where there are existing structures so that we get a sense?
There's 3 houses here, and they are on small lots, but we've maintained the 3 houses as is, and they're set back from a little pond here, a bigger pond here, and the biggest pond is here. There's also tiger salamanders in that pit, which is an old well. So, be that as it may.
Houses there, and then open, okay,
So, 3 houses.
right, and then,
The clay pit operation was here. Used clay out of these excavations,
mhm.
and they baked it and made bricks. Some of the bricks are still there. The oven is gone. So you can see the old operation, but there's no structure left. So that's the history of the property. Jane has had this property in her family for a number of years, paying taxes here, so forth and so on. So when we were asked to do the project, Jane and Kieran came in and met with my boss, and my boss told me to take it to the DEC, which I did. Took more than a year, less than 2 years, to get the DEC problems worked out. And I'm going to refer back to the old map. This is the current subdivision map. This is the map that was processed in front of the DEC. And I gave Anthony the salient correspondence back and forth to Kevin Jennings. Kevin Jennings is head of Habitat at New York State DEC. He's somebody that I know quite well. And we've done with issues with tiger salamanders for many years. This is how you do it. There's a 535-foot arc swung off the tiger salamander sites, and you have to preserve the same amount of area that you're disturbing outside of the 535 feet. So the affordable housing doesn't impact the 535. These areas do. So what we're required to do, it's really quite simple, is we have to restore the buffers around the ponds, and all this area has to revert. So we're proposing to plant the reclamation mix, which is switchgrass, possibly small trees like pitch pine seedlings, And this area will become part of the functional habitat for tiger salamanders. This area counts as a plus, and it helps with the New York State DEC review. So we had a number of correspondences back and forth to the state, all of which Anthony was provided with. And then my last correspondence to Kevin Jennings summarized where we were. So four affordable housing lots off of the 535, 2 CPF lots, these areas count as plus, but these areas have to be reviewed by the planning board, legal documents drawn up, and the legal documents and the map have to go back to the DEC for approval at the same time that the planning board would be able to approve a subdivision map. So that's the whole thing. You have the history in front of you. When we came here, Dennis was raising issues of yield. I went back and met with my boss. My boss, other than Dave Wilcox, has the most experience with planning issues. So I lean on Rich Warren for advice, and he said the yield plan is fine. So
Can I ask you just a quick
There's the
question? See,
yield.
you mentioned 2 CPF lots, right?
yes.
Is there some indication that those will be purchased by through CPF funds? or-
Before Kieran responds to that, Jackie, the first part of what we were asked to do, and I think it's 2019 at this point, I'm not 100% sure. Whenever we met with the town, we were told to provide 2 CPF lots. They were aware that Jane Frith needed income on these 2 lots to offset things that we were going to do for the DEC.
Yes.
Right.
So, yes, CPF was involved back when Lisa Combrink was CPF head. Lisa is somebody that I know personally. Her son played baseball with mine. And we had lots of conversations at the particular time. The other aspect was Diane Weir. That's the four affordable housing lots. Kieran can tell you why there are 3 instead of 4. I'm not really part of that, not 100% sure why. But the 4 affordable housing lots were requested by Diane Weir at the meeting. And then I was told eventually, I don't recall if it was exactly that meeting, but I was told to take it to the state. The state resolution is here, and it's well documented in the correspondence back and forth that Anthony already has. And Anthony may struggle with these things because they're complicated.
Yeah, well, if CPF were to take over those 2 lots, buy those 2 lots, then the entire 3/4 of the property is preserved. I mean, you cannot,
We're only here.
yeah.
That's it. It's
Yes.
only on the street. The affordable housing thing is something that Jane wanted. The affordable housing thing fits in particularly well there. There's a house right here, it's up in the woods, it's a little house, lots of trucks there. It's just kind of looks appropriate for affordable housing lots. I have a son that's 20, he wants to come back and live in Southampton, and he's gonna be looking for a house to live in. It's an obvious result to this piece of property, as long as you're protecting all those woods and you have an opportunity for affordable housing right on the street. It seems to be common sense. 3 lots or 4 lots, I guess, I don't have that much of an opinion on it, but when it comes to the board and the board finishing up this project, we had pre-preliminary review. We were told what to do. We took it to the state, and then we came back to the board for preliminary. We are here to try to gain support for that subdivision or something similar, so Jane can finish. This is an estate property. She has estate concerns for her family, just like anybody else that has a 23-acre property and had to pay taxes on it for years and years and years. We need to give her something that's realistic and that works well. And Kieran advised me that it's been back to CPF. Jackie Fenlon is the person at
Yes.
current planning that was reviewing it, and now
Yes, she was
is
the current
the
planner.
person
Yes,
at
she-
CPF.
Yes.
And Karen also said that she spoke with the Affordable Housing Program and they want the 3 lots. So that's what you have in front of you.
And what does Jackie Fenlon say about the realistic possibility of CPF buying those 2 rear lots?
She was very optimistic.
She was.
Because, I mean, if you look, it's next to preserved land
Yeah,
there, so.
right. I mean, the whole
keeps
parcel
it
is
all-
really
yeah,
environmentally
it keeps it-
sensitive.
With the DEC, the CPF part is one of the most important parts of the whole thing.
Yeah.
So if the CPF part works and the affordable housing part works, you're only gonna have development here. And these parts that
That's
are
all
open
reveg,
are
revegetated.
planted.
Yes.
What is that hatched center, that?
DEC said, show where a house and a driveway could go.
That's.
These are
So that's
Jane's,
another house?
these are Jane's 2 lots
Yeah, those
that
are
are
the
gonna
2
be
lots.
created. These areas is where a house could go and a driveway could go and out of the buffer.
So those are 2 market rate lots, and
Yes.
then 3
Three.
or
So
4.
that's
So what's the
5.
yield?
So that's what I want
That's
to
what
say.
you're
So
talking
let's,
about, is 3 versus 4.
I'm gonna stand up here.
So that's what
So,
the
yeah, that's
crux of the
probably where
issue is?
the 1 lot came from, was this whole
Right.
question about the yield, is it 7 or 8? So if you're looking at the note showed the question between 7 or 8 lots. If you look at 7, you're looking at then a 10 lot on a density incentive, okay? So it's a difference between 10 or 11 lots. Now, so I'm trying to think this through a little bit as I'm talking with the board. So now you have, on this plan here, 3 affordable lots, 3 existing residences, that's 6, right? The 2 additional market rate, which are 8, and then the 2 that would go to CPF, that's the 10. Assuming that the yield is still 7, okay? You would be required to give them an 8th lot under the Long Island Workforce Housing Act, regardless. You would have to give them the lot to get the affordable housing. So in that instance, you would get 8 lots, potentially, with 1 affordable housing unit, which is the same number of lots that they're proposing here ultimately. They're proposing 10, but 2 of them are going to CPF, so with 3 affordable lots. You see that there's the balancing
Yes,
act here.
yeah,
This,
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
I don't dispute the fact that this is not a bad,
Mhm.
you know, it needs, 3 lots.
Anthony,
you know.
does it change the zoning and setback regulations and everything?
We get
else?
to do all that stuff.
We get to do that, yes.
You get to do it, first of all, it's a cluster plan,
Mhm.
and the density incentive provisions, when you're doing affordable, gives you the ability to treat it like a cluster regardless, so.
What's happening again to the existing structures? Could you point that out, Jim?
We're making 3 lots
You're
around,
you're subdividing.
we're making 3 lots around the 3 houses.
Oh, they're each gonna
Yeah.
be on their
Jane
own
lives
separate
here,
lot.
Yeah.
she has 2 little houses here.
And they're each gonna be on its own separate lot.
Yes.
So
They,
you're
uh,
saying 10 versus, like, there's 11 lots there.
Yeah, well, it looks like,
Say
well,
10.
yeah, well, in other words, it looks like if you do a density
10.
incentive, they're proposing a total of 8 lots altogether. 2,
Right.
the 2 are, 8 lots altogether. And if they don't do a density incentive and the yield is 7 still, they could still get 8 lots out of it,
1 affordable.
Because
with
of
1
the
affordable.
Right.
So what do you,
If I may, we were also we have to coordinate, this is a type 1 action. They're trying to get secret done, right? And this is what I'm grappling with.
Right.
What I would say, Kieran, at the very least, I'll tell the board this, if the planning board's gotta look at a restoration plan and all this other stuff, we're gonna need some information for the planning board to even conduct some type of secret review.
Right.
I don't do, we don't normally do a lot of, wetlands restoration as it relates to,
We do.
that you do, Jim. But so I'm trying to get some, opinions from the board, how, if this is something that they would consider, then we need more information to do the secret review, because I gotta be comfortable, with clearing calculations and analysis of groundwater impacts and protect, and plus, not to mention, we've got an entire restoration being dictated by the DEC. What does that mean?
That's part of.
That's part of
what
this
you're
whole
saying
review.
we have to-
Exactly.
we
But
have to look
the
at.
7 lots are no matter what? You're saying there's no question as to the yield as to the 7?
What I'm saying is that there was a question about 7 or 8 lots, whether it was 7 or 8. I'm saying,
And
if they
yeah.
do 7, the density incentive would give them 10 lots, which is what they're ultimately
No, I understand
proposing.
that, but you're in agreement on what the baseline would be?
I'm not 100%, I didn't commit to that yet, but I'm not, I can tell you that I'm more in line with 7 than I am with 8.
Yeah.
So you would prefer
You know-
three affordable units, not the four?
It would
You
be
know what,
3
um,
affordable
Do
units.
3 affordable.
We would be fine with 3 lots, affordable.
And that's what the
So
current
you
map,
got
That's
3
what we do.
affordable and 1,
At 3 affordable, that
2.
way there's no issue about,
that's what the current map shows you.
yes,
Yeah, new map.
the new map, with just 3 affordable, and that way we're not.
Okay, can you point them out to us, please?
3 affordable
Sorry.
housing lots are here.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And the 535 works, the easements will still have to be prepared. And as long as the DEC habitat mitigation is exactly the same, I'm confident when I go back to see Kevin Jennings that we will ultimately get what we need. And we have to do that in conjunction with the planning board.
Jim, are the existing houses, they have separate septics, or they combined septic?
Jane can answer that. I believe she
Well,
hired DeLandro Andrews to draw up a sanitary system.
Yeah, the whole-
Separate sanitary systems?
I can
Guess,
speak to that.
guess why I know it, Dennis? My son worked as an intern at DeLandro Andrews all summer.
There you
So
go.
he would-
From baseball right to,
He was asked to start working on the job, and then I pulled him back and said, no, you have to go do something else, and we'll get this resolved when Anthony says it's okay.
so you gotta
Well,
redo septics on those.
Yeah, and we need a consensus from the board.
Jane,
Jane, can we hear
Jane
that?
can
How
give
you
you
talk
an
about
update.
the
About the
septic.
septic. The septic from my house is fine. The other 2 smaller houses south of my house both need the new septic systems. And I've already applied to the Office of Ecology, Joan Crawford. I did that 6 months ago. She told me 4 months, so I'm still waiting. But I did the entire application process for those 2 houses to have current septic.
So you're gonna put new septics in this?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
We did it at
I-
my house, Dennis.
Okay.
It's a good thing.
Good.
And then on the 3, and then you've got market rate, 2 market rates?
Oh, 2
Yes.
CPFs,
No, 2, I
2
don't
market
know
rate.
that, 2
2
market
CPF.
rate.
Yeah.
3
And
affordables.
those market rate and the affordable, what are you going to do with septic on those? Is there any?
Well, they've
way-
gotta go,
We have to get
Everything's on the-
Those are automatically required under the
No, that,
subdivision.
I know that. What about the 3 units? Can you do a joined
Well,
system?
no, they're getting their separate, we just determined that.
Each one is a lot?
I'm not sure how the affordable housing program works. I think in practical terms, we put it on a map and Jane gives them to the affordable housing
Yeah.
program.
And if the CPF purchase doesn't go through, are you willing to put easements on those? Conservation easements, so it's one or the other? Because they're doing it based on the fact
If
that
it
it's gonna
doesn't
be
go,
non-developed.
if it doesn't go through,
In other words, if
They're doing it based on the fact that they're gonna be.
does not
doesn't buy those
purchase
2
those 2
lots.
lots,
Right.
would you consider putting a conservation easement on them to essentially keep them in their natural state?
Oh, definitely, I wouldn't do anything else, because that land is landlocked with other open land. It's all part of, an area that we've conserved since 45, since my parents bought the property in 1945.
Okay.
Kieran, you could execute contracts prior to the approval with CPF, couldn't you? Couldn't you execute?
well, I guess we get more money if the map's filed.
But contingent upon the final.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah,
Same,
so,
same thing as Camp Jerome.
You're
Right.
right, you're right.
Everything gets
Sorry.
drawn up ahead of time.
Okay,
and
yeah.
then
I think
when
that
Anthony
process
gives
should-
us
We can
the
start that.
subdivision
that
plans
process
back,
should.
We could start it
The
now.
projects
Yeah.
can
Agreeable.
close.
Are you on the
Absolutely.
CPF agenda already, or no?
Jim, may I ask just real quick,
No.
on the affordable lots, on the DEC map, I know it shows 4, but none of the affordable lots are burdened with any, like, restoration stuff or anything?
No,
right?
they're
Okay.
not.
Those are the types of things you don't want to have on an affordable lot, is these added, the
That's
burdens
what-
that, people.
That's what you call horse trading. Horse trading with DEC pushed affordable housing lots out of the 535 feet,
Sure.
period.
Yeah.
And the rest of the stuff in here is manageable. These are open areas that were cleared for whatever reason, but planting reclamation mix is the same thing as grassing a subdivision road shoulders. And if we're required to, we'll plant little trees, but we would plant trees this big, 1 foot. The reason being is to not disturb the soil.
Mhm.
You do it with a soft touch, and it grows, and it doesn't matter if it gets hot in July and August, the plant materials still grow. So it's reclamation mix, it's a mixture of switchgrass, little blue stem, and other native grasses, and sometimes you supplement it with pitch pines, and it works.
Yeah, I mean, the DEC has given us this non-jurisdiction letter based on all these conditions. So it's all been, you know.
What are the
that we have to
size of the
follow.
affordable lots?
That's my next question.
They're kind of normal houses,
They
house
must be
lots.
on there. Yeah.
15,000, 20?
They're 0.6, 0.364, and 0.424. The bigger one has a flagpole, so it's bigger.
I don't understand the
So
answer.
what is that?
They're like
Square feet.
15,000, 18,000, and like 26,000 square feet.
yeah.
They're
Gotcha.
pretty nice size.
Good size.
So, I mean, this map, Anthony, you're happy with this map?
Well, I want to make sure, you know, I'm not a decision maker as it relates to the density incentive, it's discretionary. But what I am saying is, in order to do an adequate environmental review of this, then I'm going to need, at the very least, then, if the board's okay with doing a density incentive with some lots, additional lots, that's okay, I'll move forward like that. But the applicant then is going to have to give me some more information so I could do the secret review, because I don't have that, you know, a long EAF form in and of itself isn't going to be sufficient.
Is it cart before the horse without knowing the outcome of the CPF properties?
You know.
No, well, we just heard.
We just said
Okay,
that she
that's
would
what
put
you
it,
said.
she would
Yeah,
put
okay, yeah.
conservation
Right,
easement.
right, okay.
So-
You know, at the very least, what I'm gonna recommend, you know, that I do then is I'm gonna put it back on the agenda so I could just make sure I'm comfortable with the 7-lot yield, and to provide the applicant with a list of the additional secret information that we would need
Yeah.
for this board to.
Jim will get that to you. I mean, this looks,
Okay.
to me, looks good. The affordable housing need is so pressing east of the canal.
Yeah, especially ownership models. I mean,
Yeah.
you see them so rarely.
Yeah, yep,
We did a nice one on Trout Pond, and
yes.
there's a bunch
The
of
first.
big houses down the road on Ruggs Path, but the
Yep.
first house was affordable housing. And if you're driving down the road, it
can't
looks
tell.
just like all the other houses,
Can't tell.
I
but
bet
some
every day,
There's a little
yeah.
buffer
local
there.
person got a
It's
house
a jackpot.
to move
Yeah.
into.
Yeah.
And then again,
It's a good thing.
in order to, so this board, this is the type of stuff that we're gonna have to really look at that under secret
Yeah.
is septic design, clearing, what the restoration plan entails, you know, that
Exactly.
kind of stuff, and then we could,
Sure.
you know.
Jim will get
Tell
all that.
me, you have to subdivide those, you have 3 buildings on the lot you're living.
Yes.
You want to subdivide it into 3.
Yes.
Yeah, the
So
three
is that a
lots.
separate subdivision?
No, we
No,
would just
no.
create the 3 lots as part of this, and each
Each
one of those
house,
houses
each
will have
structure's
one.
gonna buy on its own lot.
She's in front of the health department already.
Yes, we're in the health department.
And they're gonna meet the current zoning, or?
Well, we can modify.
They're gonna
It's a
cluster.
cluster
We're
plan,
gonna
so
cluster.
But what
it's
about
modified.
flow? I mean, what about,
Cluster everything.
you know, you've got a lot more houses on a very environmental piece. So,
Well, the needs, gonna need the
health department, what do you think?
The design flow is pretty modest. It's a 23-acre piece of property. We don't come anywhere close to the maximum design flow. But Jackie, that's a fair question. We'll give it to you in writing.
Yeah, I mean, the health department is dealing with.
Design flow, and there's a calculation at the top of engineered plans that tell you what the allowable flow is. So you have a proposed and you have allowable. So we'll give you that.
Okay. Where you live, are these the gray houses, the 3
Yes.
gray houses?
Mhm.
Yes.
Several were built like in the last 5 years, right?
Oh, no. My house was renovated in 1996.
Okay.
My house is in the rear.
Right.
And the 2 front houses were renovated by my husband and another carpenter, and put all new plumbing, all new electric, all new siding, insulation, and roof, and so on and so forth.
So did we ever see a
And we
site
did
plan?
that in 2007 and 2009.
I mean, I watched it being built, but
It was never before us, because
It was.
it was not
It
a
was
site.
It's
just-
a renovation, right?
a
Well,
renovation.
the house that I grew up in is the northernmost house on the turnpike.
It's this one.
No, in the front.
So that house is very.
That was the house I grew up in, and that house remained the same. We just renovated and made it, it was a year-round house. I lived in it. The other one was a summer cottage.
Right, I remember it being done, because I lived just in Bridgehampton. But what I'm saying is, this was no longer a one-lot thing. You created two houses in addition to yours, and I'm asking, was it ever legally subdivided? That's my question.
Oh, no, it's always been one parcel.
It's before zoning.
They're pre-existing for the three
Pre-existing
structures.
house.
They're
Pre-existing.
pre-existing for three houses on
Yeah.
that
The
property.
three
Predated
houses?
zoning.
Yes.
That predated zoning, but
yes.
that being said, Jackie, the property's not getting any more yield that would be entitled to because
Right.
the three existing residences have to utilize three of the lots that they would be allowed
Yes.
to have, so.
That's part of the, yeah.
That's part of it,
Yeah.
yes.
And then you're building two new market rates, right?
Yes.
These two.
Well,
Creative lots,
probably
certainly.
the lot just above the one that Jim just pointed to, I'm keeping with my lot.
Which one, adjacent to your?
Yes,
So probably all you're
Vacant for
going
now.
to see is
yeah.
3 affordable housing lots. Good.
Yeah. And then one market
And
rate
one
on
market
and
rate.
one more
When they get
market
sold.
rate.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's 3, 4,
It's not going to change too much
7,
at
so
all.
it'll be 7.
7 buildings on 23 acres.
And get the CPF to buy those two.
Yeah, so I will contact them this week to get that.
Could the
going.
market rate be built with an accessory apartment, or is that, the
I don't
three
think,
others
let's,
is
you know,
small?
you're
No, I mean-
complicating my life.
It could.
And the
It's a very,
fourth-
I like to do that.
Yeah,
It's,
it's
the criteria is very simple, actually. We never get into it because the town code allows someone to do it within the parameters of the zoning regulations. So
Right.
I think if you have a minimum of 30,000 square feet,
Yeah. then
you
can
could
do
get
it.
an accessory apartment that
Yeah.
doesn't really fit
Yeah, it
into
won't fit.
normally.
Yeah.
So
okay.
I have had the same
Sorry.
response to this map all along about a density incentive in probably one of the most environmental pieces around. I appreciate the fact that you want to preserve those last two. You can sell them, great, if not, you have a conservation, but it is what it is. I mean, there's a lot of flow coming off this property. It's everything that you said, you know? So I think we have to tread carefully, which is why Anthony has been very careful about the density incentive plan on it.
We'll be back to you right away with that, all that stuff. All
Yeah,
the
We're gonna
design
need some
flow.
expanded EAF
We need some,
information.
yeah.
Okay.
What stage are we, do we have a preliminary submitted yet?
We're in a preliminary application,
So
and we
we're-
haven't done
we're
the secret yet.
approaching
so-
secret.
So we gotta do
Yeah.
secret, and it's a type 1, so we have to coordinate, but of course, I wanna make sure we have all of our information, so, you know.
Yes.
so we
Before
can-
we coordinate.
Well, before we coordinate, because that way, if anybody does have questions, or something gets, raised, I have the information to do.
What's adjacent to what are those, houses?
These are
Yeah.
houses. There's town property there.
Owns
Isn't
that lot?
Yeah, there's some town property.
There's an architect right next to,
That's-
overlooking the big pond,
That's where the pheasants were.
yeah.
Does
Yeah.
that back up
Up
to
Clay
Oh,
Beach
that's
Clayfish
the
Road?
pheasants, yeah. where
Yeah.
The shoot.
They don't have them
Here
anymore.
on the road,
Who's the
dead.
guy?
Skellinger.
Kelly.
Yeah,
But,
Kellen's-
They don't
yeah,
have them.
he stopped that.
Yeah,
He's
no more.
retired.
Does he still have that
I'm a
property?
dead bird.
I
I
don't
think
know.
he does.
I think he
Yeah.
does, but there's no shooting going on. He stopped.
Right.
Yeah, all that stopped.
Yeah.
And Preston Phillips is the architect.
Preston,
Yes.
yeah.
So were these the clay pits from Clay Pit Road?
Those are the clay pits. They were hand dug
Right.
to make bricks. The bricks, if you want a souvenir, you gotta ask Jane if you can go on the property.
Yeah.
There's lots of
We'll
them.
have
That
to
was a
bring a
little brick
brick.
kiln.
You can put brick
As in the
paths.
Have to bring a
road,
brick.
Hill
Use
Road.
it for brick paths.
There's
Yeah.
lots of them.
That's right.
I didn't take one the last time I was there.
Well, you can make brick paths. It's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so that's where we are.
All right, so okay, so this was a good conversation. I got some feedback, we got to discuss some of these issues, and I got to talk to myself through some of these things, too.
Yeah, and no, and they're willing to
Well, because when you
to
look at the
eliminate
numbers
one
now, if
lot.
you're talking 8 lots with 3 affordable, or 8 lots with 1 affordable, assuming the yield is 7, then, it's less of a, it doesn't though, however, eliminate the need to do a quality environmental review.
Okay.
And so that's where this will go, so.
And
I'll
Jane
put-
wans to keep one of those lots.
Yeah, good.
Yes.
So that eliminates a house.
So we'll,
EPF buys two, that
all right, so
eliminates
I'm gonna
two.
try to put together a bullet list of some environmental, you know,
Well, thank
information
you
that we would need to.
for
move forward.
clarifying this, because it's been a while.
Thank you for
Well,
explaining.
well,
It was a
Jim-
long process,
Jim
so,
helped
and
us
Jim is
with
such an
Jane.
expert, yes. And
Anthony,
Jim's
when do you
very
want-
patient,
Jim
so
did
Anthony,
thank
when do
you.
you want this on again?
I'll figure that out.
Okay.
I'll work on my next 2 agendas.
Okay,
Okay,
thank you,
great,
really,
thank
really
you.
appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
It's just been a.
Thanks.
yeah.
Thanks for coming in.
Appreciate it, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
One more. Is that your easel?
I think so.
They brought it, yeah.
I'll verify. Last one I have is 12 Sessa.
Eugene
So,
Sessa. Eugene Sessa, 281 West Montauk Highway, Hampton Bays.
The board might remember, this has been going on, there actually was a subdivision approval for this property. It's on West Montauk Highway in Hampton Bays. It's got an existing residence there. It's R40 zoned. And so the applicant is.
Where is this,
Says
Anthony?
R.
Give us some
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
surrounding.
It says R20 on the,
I'm lying to you, it is R20 actually.
okay.
It's R20.
I gotta-
Give
Is
us
that
some
across
markers.
from Centro?
The-
Yeah.
Yes. That's correct. Across from, what's the name of it?
Centro?
Doctor's
Centro,
office,
Centro.
right. Doctor's office there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what Centro is, Jackie, the restaurant there?
Oh, yes, the restaurant.
Yeah,
yeah.
so it's in that neck of the woods. So this piece of property has an existing residence. This has been going on for decades. And what they're proposing is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lots. They actually have a yield of 6. They would technically be allowed 7 because of the affordable housing, but they had a health department issue. So what they're proposing is their 6-lot yield, one of them would be for affordable because they have to provide the affordable. There was an approval here back in the day. They have no ability, this property, to utilize the private right-of-way that runs behind them, which is a much better option than
Yes.
Montauk Highway.
Yes.
So right now, what the plan is showing are the 6 lots and common driveways. You know, we still have 3 residential driveways off of Montauk
It's
Highway.
the most unimaginative subdivision that
You know,
I've seen.
there's, you know,
There's no
The-
creative thought at all that went into
you know,
it.
what I'm gonna say is because it's this, we still have to do secret here, the application's incomplete. So we're gonna deem the final subdivision application incomplete, and I'm meeting with the applicant. We gotta think this through a little bit. Even 3 common driveways onto Montauk Highway, residential is not.
Ask them to just
Great.
be creative and redesign it. Lend them some of your design books.
I know you said they have no opportunity to use the private road behind it, but could they maybe re-explore that
Create an
opportunity?
opportunity.
Let's put it this way, back when the subdivision was approved in the 90s, it was raised then. It was raised in the pre-app report that I did, said, please go back out and look. So we will, because it's gonna be part of the environmental review. I think traffic impacts are a concern here.
I mean, there are all different types of private roads, you know, different types of legal agreements on roads, and if it was looked at 20 years ago, it might be a different situation than today.
You know the
Sure.
parallel road behind the development on County Road 39? That there is
Yeah,
that
that's something
back
similar.
road that is used for,
Just it's,
Circulation.
You know, the zoning is, it's sort of difficult, but it's incomplete, so we're gonna deem the application.
whose application is
It's
that?
Heather Wright's representative. And I told her it was incomplete, and I'm actually meeting with her next week to try to hash out some of those issues.
Okay. So motion to deem this incomplete.
Motion.
Motion by Craig, second by Kate, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, we are now 4 in favor and 3 absent.
And then just real quick, Jackie did in fact sign with due acknowledgement of signatures, Hampton's Ponquag. That was a subdivision map. That was for the town's senior center or community center in Hampton Bays. So we signed that map, and then we also did Charles Patero, which is a lot line change. Those are walk-ons.
We did a lot of other maps, Claire,
Those are
whatever.
Claire's, yeah.
did a lot. Signatures.
You're done, Anthony?
So I'll see you guys. I'll see you
Tonight?
at 6.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ed.
My first one is number 2, Aria. No,
Serenity Field.
Serenity Field, 656,
656 and 664 Montauk Highway.
yes, and if you would like to pass out the tree report. Yeah. He's got,
There you go, right there.
yeah, this is Thank you. Share.
Pass that one down.
You guys can share those plans. It's great. Yes, share. So forgive me if I'm not super up to date with this project. This was Jeff's. We discussed this about 2 meetings ago. And you had wanted him to update the report, which I think he's done, with the information. A lot of questions you had. There was the size of the apartments,
Yeah, a
there
lot
was
of
the
questions.
appropriateness of the number of apartments and where they were
Right.
located and things like that. The
Claire,
parking
just real
lot.
quick, this is a pre-submission conference, so I just want to make sure that's,
Pre-submission conference,
Yes.
reports.
And
Yes.
identify yourselves for the record.
oh yes, Michael Shannon from InterScience on behalf of the applicant.
Wayne Bruin on behalf of the
You have
applicant
your
as
report?
well.
Sorry.
Thank you.
There you go. Yes, so, we can go through the recommendations, I guess, one by one. I mean, is that comfortable for you? Like,
It's
where
a
we-
draft pre-submission conference. Yeah, we'll go over it.
Yeah, we'll go, I mean, it's been reviewed. I don't know exactly, but it sounded like you had a lot of issues. I'd rather go through each point and make sure you're comfortable with them.
We did.
Okay? That's great. It's just aerial, this is immediately adjacent to the East Palm Park on Montauk Highway. It's 2 parcels that are to west of that. One's like a vacant piece, like parking lot, and the other one's Hampton Break. So,
And the business just to the west there is
Restaurant.
auto repair, restaurant?
the restaurant pizzeria, planning board approved that a little while ago.
The auto repair shop is part of this site.
Gotcha.
And then the one
Yep.
right here is the restaurant.
Now, did we talk about these lots are merging, right?
Yes.
And the purpose is just for health department, not any zoning purpose. And
They're
so,
merging to get more flow from the, for the
well, to
apartments?
utilize the flow, that way it allows us to get the apartments.
I remember the apartments were minuscule, right?
Yeah.
They are, yeah. But in order to fit apartments in, so in the,
Well, let
The-
Claire, I'm
Oh,
sorry.
of course, yes, I'm
Let
sorry,
Claire-
of course.
I just
Claire-
want to get through
You
the
go
easy
through it.
things and we'll get to the
Yes.
harder
Go through
things.
it, Claire.
Well, but stop me, we'll talk about them as we go. So the first one, I think type 1 action, it's the number of parking spaces, that's fine. Planning board strongly encourages the applicant to consider incorporating sustainable green designs into the site plan to the maximum extent possible, and where appropriate, including but not limited to the rooftop solar panels, electric vehicle charging stations, grass pavers, rain, stormwater management, and LED certification for buildings. So the third one is all buildings and structures within HC are to be residential in nature. This is the design, so, of the project. So that has been incorporated, but of course, it's subject to ARB review.
I think the recommendation is that the architecture that we proposed is not necessarily completely residential in the nature you're looking for.
Are they in here? No.
Well,
They're no,
they were.
oh, you have some.
this
I think so. Does the packet not have all the building plans also?
Yep, yeah, last couple pages there are
Yep.
elevations.
Well, we'll look at yours because it's only one. Yes, they're here.
Oh, so at the last meeting, the board had said they were concerned about the architecture?
No, but that's what the report says.
It does not, does it?
Yeah, it says proposed architecture, oh, it does meet. Okay, never mind. I thought it-
Okay, good.
It's that does, I thought it was saying
Yeah.
does not. Okay. Sorry.
Just for
Well,
the
there
sake
are a
of
lot of
clarity.
roof lines, that's for sure.
Yeah, so this is the part of the building that would face the street. So we wanted to make sure that there was the gabled roof and like kind of this porch area, so it has this kind of residential look to it. And then this is kind of the main entrance for the market along on this drawing, it's the top part of the building.
Right there.
So, yeah,
Where the
that's,
cursor is?
right, that's this part, and then this is to, above that. Right there.
Facing the handicap
Oh,
spot.
Facing the handicap spaces, yes.
This, yeah, this is the entrance.
That's the main entrance.
Yeah. Okay. So number 4 goes into the square footage. You go, building above 3,000 square feet, requires apartments, they're providing apartments. There's 4 apartments being proposed, 2 at moderate income at $450 a piece, and then 2 at 600 square feet apiece. And then 5 is what the language that has been updated since the meeting. I was here for the meeting, so I was familiar with it. That you had requested that they apply to the Housing Community Development Administrator to see if the size of the apartments would be appropriate and needed for the project. And so, just on a note of me in reviewing applications, the planning board about 12 years ago did approve an apartment in a building, office building on Main Street here, and it was 400 square feet. So they are proposed at that size, and they're studios, they're for single people, but they are proposed. at
The
that
town
footage.
had a code that the minimum square footage was 600 square feet, so has that changed? Has
No,
it-
apartments are 400 square feet, yes.
400.
Yeah, yes, and that's been in place since I've been here, yes.
Are they studios? I thought I remember them being like a small 1-bedroom. So, very tiny.
The one I'm
Well,
referencing.
450
Oh, the- I'm
yeah,
sorry.
50
But I
square
think these
feet
are
is pretty
small
tiny.
one-bedrooms,
Yeah,
right?
these are tiny 1-bedrooms.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna say that we are revisiting the floor plan in general as part of the
Good.
review, so.
Good.
I believe
Yeah.
that the code may refer to these as efficiency units, and that's what can be between 400 and like up, like down to the 400 square feet, which would be like the studio size, so. But we are reviewing the floor plans and working with them to try and come up with something that's a little bit more functional, so.
Habitable.
Yeah, I think it's illustrative too, the way you have the kitchen, the sink, like, and the layout in the bathroom, to put like a queen-size bed in the bedroom, to
Okay.
figure, just to show what space you have to move around after you put in a critical piece of furniture, right? So you can really
Yeah.
start to feel what that feels like.
Do you want me to mention that?
I mean, just like a note for their
For the record.
illustration.
Okay, yeah.
It's not too much extra to put in, and it really does kind of.
Tell you whether you have any room.
Right, yeah,
Right.
like if you have a queen-size bed and it fills the whole room, then that's, or, and a dresser, what do people need in a bedroom?
So we have 4, is it 4 uses in one?
For apartments.
No, 4
No, the
uses
overall
in the
property.
building. We have apartments, we have a retail segment for the store, right?
I guess it would be 3, because I would say that the ice cream shop is more like accessory to the
Retail.
to the retail.
Okay.
So it's not like that, both of them would be open at separate times, they would essentially be, it's similar, not to use this as saying that this is what that's gonna be, but similar in Cinderella's, where you can go in there, you can go and get a slice of pizza, or you can go and get a sandwich, or you can
I
get,
understand.
they're all like in the same space.
Gotcha.
So.
Okay.
Um,
And then we have
The offices, the apartments, and the retail
Right.
space.
But what
So
about this storage area downstairs? That's not for rent, that's for the,
That's for the,
Tenants.
market space. And I guess it could potentially be segmented so that some of the apartments could use it also, which would make sense, I think. So, but it's not separate storage for people to rent out outside of this.
But then you've got a fifth use. You've
Mhm.
got a mechanics,
Right, the existing
Garage.
use, correct.
so there are 5 uses, right?
Mhm.
I'm sorry, just one more time, go through that. Retail, which will include the ice cream store, right?
Mhm.
Right.
What's the office? How many offices?
There were
2, I
right?
think, 2 upstairs.
I believe so.
So it's 2.
So that's 3 uses, the 4
Apartments.
apartments, storage in the basement, which is accessory, right?
Mhm.
And then the
Mechanic shop.
mechanics building
Okay.
adjacent.
Okay. I'm gonna do a new paragraph that describes that. I think that's very clear and helpful.
So what about,
Is there a limitation on uses in HC? I don't think.
There is.
There
Some
is, and we
10
did the.
1 to 10,000 per regular uses, 1 to 4,000 per office uses. So you'd be fine. I think you'd be fine, right?
Mhm.
How big is the property?
Does the client have a need for more office space for the
Yeah,
auto
you'd be
mechanic
fine.
shop or housing for that particular
Like
use
7
there? Or is it
Just there.
kind of being considered as a separate?
I think it's essentially going to be considered separate.
Okay.
We are not considering we're not talking about any type of expansion or change to the existing mechanic shop, or that they would be used in conjunction with each other. And there's a very specific reason for that, because then it would be potentially considered an expansion of a pre-existing non-conforming use, which we have already spoken with the chief building inspector, and he had confirmed, just to review everyone's memory, that building this building and merging the 2 lots would not be considered expansion of a non-conforming use.
Mm.
But I'm guessing that if they started to use the offices in this, then that probably could
I
be,
see.
so.
would be? Now,
So
when you-
could you eliminate, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Kate. No,
Um,
no.
Could you eliminate the offices to expand the apartment square footages?
The issue is that the 450 square foot size and the 600 square foot size are the thresholds for the health department. So if we go any above 450, we go into more flow. If we go any above 600, we go into more flow, and we don't have the space for that. So essentially, we would just wind up with some empty space in the building. Not empty space, there would be something else that we could use for it, but you can't, it's not a kind of a one-for-one
I see.
Yeah.
issue.
So you
Yeah.
can't increase the size of the living space without incurring more flow, and you've already maxed out your flow. That's why you've merged this to get flow from here.
Yep.
Right.
As far as the auto repair, one thing, if you notice on the site aerials, is that they've had no formal parking, and it's very haphazard. So one benefit of this site plan and joining it is that this site plan will organize and
They do,
formalize that.
they do need to do some planting, green spaces in that lot.
Mhm.
Every 20 spaces, Claire, is it?
Yes, yes,
Every 20
exactly. I
space
think
you
we
need
talked
a-
about that, right?
A green
Yeah, I think
island.
that's a recommendation.
Yes.
Yeah, just like you have on the other
Mhm.
lot.
Is that island that you need a separate, smaller island, or could you consolidate all of those into a larger green space? I'm just,
No, it's to break up the parking.
it's to break up the parking? Okay.
Right, and to create
Yeah.
some, and create some shade.
Mhm.
Well,
You know, a lot of parking lots now are putting in more trees
Mhm.
to create shade in these hot climates that we
Mhm.
have.
That was the intent.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
So that is in your paragraph 9.
Right, that's the 9. I'm just kind of going in order. I'm going to make a new one. I'm gonna put the number of uses, maybe before parking. But the parking one, I think I got an email, I'm sorry, I didn't read it.
It's okay.
There's something you want me to adjust about parking?
I think that we had provided you with the number of employees
Oh, okay.
in the, no, for the mechanic shop. But I think that the retail employees don't come into play when you're determining the number of parking spaces for it, so, and also, some discussion of, I think we said the employees and the number of, overnight cars that would be stored just so that you had it on record what
Okay.
what that information was.
I'm gonna add number of overnight cars, and
So-
then, I'll clear anything up related to the retail. But you don't have a number of, how many employees with the mechanic shop, or you do?
We do. I do not have it on me. I apologize.
Okay, I'm gonna leave it as provide the number, so
Yeah.
that's easy. Okay, perfect.
And so we're looking at a total of 88 parking spaces for the entire
They're
parcel?
proposing that right now, but I think you've given some feedback that you want some internal landscaping, so that
Yeah.
number's gonna come down. Their requirement is 59 that they're saying right now, that might adjust a little bit too based on employees. So, but they seem to have room for everything, so it's a matter of just refining those numbers.
You could do designated parking, obviously, for handicap spots, but could you do designated parking for the tenants as well?
We will.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Mhm. It doesn't, it's not shown on here, but we're actually working on an alternative concept plan based on some of the comments you guys worked, so I can tell you that that's definitely going to be included in that. I think it was actually something that Tom had mentioned during our public hearing for the pre-submission, so.
I find that the convergence of uses to be weird, but, you know, weird is not anything that's written in our code, so my feelings aside, I have, you know, no basis to create an argument on weird. But the size of the apartments is a concern to me. 450 is so small. Yeah, would the owner even consider 3 at 600 square feet? Because then I think you don't run into sanitary issues, right? If you
No, but the
if you-
problem is the size of the building. We only, under HC zoning, you're allowed 3,000, but if you can go up to 6,000, provided you provide a certain number of apartments.
Right.
So if you do that, then that shrinks the building.
That shrinks the building.
So there's a whole
Are you talking about
calculation.
moderate apartments? Is that what you're talking about? The affordable?
I think you were talking about making the apartments whatever size.
No,
you
no,
wanted.
no, no, whatever,
Not
600 square foot. So do 3 600 square foot apartments as opposed to the mix of 4 that we have now, and then just maybe increase the size. And I think you'll have extra square footage to increase the size of your offices.
Then I think you gotta shrink the size of the building from 6,000 down to whatever.
No,
No,
it's,
that's
it's
not
three
what
apart,
we-
it's
Only
six
three.
Trading
thousand.
4 apartments
The
for 3.
6,000 generates 3 apartments
Right.
Okay.
being required.
I think that, you know.
Whether they have to be
450
affordable or not is something in my brain I can't remember.
I get,
It-
part
it's
of.
small for us, but it's legal, and I think you will probably find that there are people that'll be glad to have a 450 square foot apartment.
Right. We are going to get input from housing. I know that part of the thought process for, I think it would be a difficult sell for some people for you to say that the affordables are the same size as the non-affordables. So then, are we then making all 3 of them moderate income? And that's not really something that my client is looking to do.
Yeah,
So
I understand what you're saying,
yeah.
but I mean, a 600 square foot apartment is going to, it's not gonna yield a high return on rent regardless, really, in my opinion.
Mhm.
And again, that's just my opinion.
Right. Well, I'll definitely bring it up to them, and we'll take it under advisement, and we'll also see what the housing and community development.
And then
says.
what would be the, you know, the occupancy limits to these apartments? Are these, you know, 1 tenant, 1 person, or can it be a couple, or can it be up to 3 people?
I don't think that there's then a specific limit, other than, I'd have to look into that to see more, but.
Isn't that usually determined by parking spaces or something?
No, it's the size. There is a size. It's a state building code.
Okay.
If you have 1 bedroom, you're only allowed 2 people.
Up to 2
Okay.
people.
And there's a certain size of a bedroom.
Right.
So.
Have we specified street trees here?
I believe it's in here.
It's part of the landscape comment.
Let me see if it's in here.
I think
Oh,
it is.
yep, number 9, halfway through the paragraph.
Okay, and then what does the front of this mechanics building look like? And is there any opportunity to dress it up a little bit, because you're going to have a brand-new, much better-looking building here?
It's pretty rough. I can tell you
Pretty
that much.
rough,
It's a
right?
brick building. Right?
So can we get the applicant to do something to at least the facade?
Can you go to the street view?
I'll
I
mention it,
am
yeah.
thinking, right.
It's actually, in this site plan, by the way, it was done by our client's designer. And one of the first things when we got involved with Inner Science is noting that they had proposed this curb cut limitation, which doesn't reflect the existing use, which there's garage bays in the front here. And there wouldn't
It's
be
wide
any
open.
area to maneuver
Yeah.
there at all.
Well, they're
So-
proposing to close.
Well, that's what they showed, but I don't think we're gonna be physically able to do that.
Claire, could you blow
Can you
it up a
bump
little?
it up a little?
Oh, yeah, of course, I'm sorry. I'm like looking at it. You guys can't see it.
So that goes to your point about turning radius and trucks and everything else. So that's an engineering thing that we're dealing with. But you're
That's on a
talking
good
about
day.
changing the brick facade.
That's on a good day.
it.
On a bad day, there are about 40 cars in every state of disrepair sprayed all over that. Hey, you pass
I
here.
agree with you, Dennis. I don't agree with you. I think that it's good. They keep it very neat. That's just the people who are coming that day. I think it's not
How
bad.
often do you pass it?
I don't anymore.
Well, there you go. There you go.
You could adjust, I mean, I think like right now, people pulling right in there and it's so wide open, having some kind of sidewalk
Yeah,
extension
we
and
have-
softening, but you could put it, like if, instead of in front of the garage bays, just extend it here to, and here.
I mean, there's certain things you can do with it.
Yeah, you could put
Yeah,
it
I
there.
think,
So there is still room.
Mike and I
Keep
have
the
been
sign.
trying to talk to
Look
the
at this.
client about that whole issue and recognizing that you want something done in the
Oh,
front,
yeah.
but on the other hand, I don't see how the operation can be, you could put a curb in front of that and
Curbing
not
and
do anything
some
safely.
landscaping.
It depends.
Yeah.
So
On the edges is proposed now, but maybe it's too tight, for use, so,
it would be.
yeah. So I think there's some, do
And
you want me to
and
just
what is
add
it, just
that?
a brick facade?
It
Yes.
is. And then the side of the building, sides are, I think, just white. I'm actually not sure.
Let's see. I don't know if you can tell.
If you can turn it
You
around.
can
Stucco,
go, you can
yeah.
go down the road.
Yeah.
Going down the
And-
road.
and-
It's
Yeah.
white, yeah.
There you go, yeah.
Yes, it's
Maybe we
white.
could address the whole tire sign on the roof.
No, I love it.
A little bit of
Circa
Americana.
1950.
1950s.
Yeah. It's
like the
historic.
kitchen.
Retro.
It's historic.
It's
yeah.
historic. No, but you want the appearance of the building to look
Some
at.
dressed
Okay.
up
Yeah.
a bit, you know.
So I'm gonna put that in there too.
This may be a loaded question for me to ask, but what do you mean by like clean it up? Just
Dressed up.
dressed up?
Well, use
Yeah.
your imagination. You could figure that
The
out.
tire sign, definitely.
I wanna
Don't
get to
need
the
that
historic
clear.
board before you go. Look at the appearance of existing building. Okay.
And is
Start
that
with a
brick on the
power
side
wash.
that's just been painted or
power
what, do you know?
No, I think it's just stucco. I don't think it's brick all the way around the building.
So we take it on a Sunday afternoon and.
So I'm just gonna go in order. Back to 7, that was what Wayne had touched on, the turning radius for trailers, trucks. Obviously, there's gonna be some trucks here, so we wanna make sure that that's investigated and shown. 8 is the traffic analysis. 9 is the landscaping, which we touched on before. 10 is the solid fencing around the dumpster enclosure. 11 is a standalone sign for the
As you
proposed
mentioned.
commercial building. Is there something you want to mention?
No, you got it, number 12.
12, okay.
So there is cross-access already established, and it's physically there. We didn't show it on this plan, but we'll definitely show it, and that'll be part of future plan.
Okay.
So they do share the driveway access
there's
to
a
the
drive-
restaurant already.
The driveway
west.
shown there, and that driveway is,
That's for the restaurant, and we're able to use, I think, half of it. I think it's like a 20-foot wide driveway and like 10 feet of it. There's an easement that we are able to use, but then what we would probably propose is that it would be a cross access, so that this stretch would potentially be able to be used by both sides. So on the next plan that we submit, we'll make sure that it is shown on
yeah,
the plan.
yeah. Can we see that Claire? Will we see the restaurant property with that,
This is the restaurant property here.
where's the building?
Way
It's
in the
back.
back.
Way in the back.
It's
Way
in the
in the
back. Parking's in the front, but it was an existing building, I forget.
We did a few years ago.
Yeah, and the restaurant's in the back.
Like an Italian restaurant or something.
Mhm. Yep, like a pizzeria or something.
What's the name of it? I can't.
Cucina? I can't read it, but, oh yeah, Cucina.
Cucina?
Cucina?
Cucina.
Cucina.
Yeah, it's way in the back though.
So did you, I thought this also mentioned. did they want
Pedestrian
Oh,
access?
yeah, you're fine with that, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Okay, so, yeah, and the lighting plan, and then site plan review regulations. And then there will be a public hearing, because it's a special exception with the apartments.
Did we schedule that, Claire?
It's going, you know, when they
When we make the final.
file
when you
the
make
site
it,
plan
okay.
application,
Right, this is a
of course,
draft
secret will have to
pre-submission
be
report.
first. So this is the recommendation for adoption
Right.
of pre-submission report.
So you'll make all those edits, Claire?
Yes, so basically, the edits are, I'm gonna add a new bullet for a number of uses we talked about, some edits to the cars, designating the parking for the tenants, share the driveway with the restaurant to the west, and then a new bullet for the look at the appearance of the existing building.
And the smaller details of, review the layout of the apartments?
Well, that is already in here.
Okay.
So,
They have to talk to housing.
they're
Yeah,
gonna talk
that's
to
number
housing, that's
five.
number
Okay.
5, yeah. Exactly.
Okay.
And I can say the planning board has concerns with the
So-
area of the 45,
Yeah,
450. Do you want
450.
to say that? Okay.
Well, you would like to see larger apartments.
Yeah, I mean, 600 is okay.
Should we put in Craig thought it was weird, or you want to keep it off?
Yes,
He wants that
technical
word
term.
put in there somewhere.
Well, the two uses are not, they're not very compatible uses, you know. And the only reason, I mean, I now understand why you merged them, for a practical reason to get the flow.
So this would be, these uses, the apartment and the market, would be compatible with the park and with Main Street. I mean,
Yeah.
having access, but
But not
this
with
is.
that.
Right.
Unless they did some cosmetic stuff to
Mhm.
it, and they can, you know. Okay, so we're adopting this?
I'm recommending that.
Okay, motion by
Motion.
Kate, second by Dennis, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, 5 in favor, 2 absent. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you. Claire, these are yours, right?
They are, yeah, I think we just leave them on the table, that'd be great.
So do you want to go to 5, Claire? Aria T,
Yes, I do.
number 5. T Aria, 292 West Montauk Highway.
Yeah. You got a
Thank you.
copy of it?
Thank you.
Yeah, I have a draft unless you updated it.
No.
Okay.
Didn't update it, but I should, because I forgot all my solar references.
Hi, board
Hi,
members.
Liz.
Liz Vale again,
Hi,
GT.
Liz.
Hey, Liz.
Greenberg Traurig. For
We
the
have
applicant.
45 minutes till
Okay.
public hearing.
We'll be really quick.
These are the best ones. No, these are the.
While she's passing that out, Dave just told me I'm his cousin, Dave Wilcox. Like his 5th or 7th cousin.
Oh, is he,
Does it print
yeah.
out? Yeah, like he gave me a printout. I was like, how cool is that?
That's funny.
Wow.
Yeah, you learn something new every day, right?
Yeah.
Now, what was catalyst to that study?
I don't know, he's
Is this
really a
like kinda
history
random?
buff, so.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna do a brief overview, and then we can talk about some of the issues, you know, the recommendations, I should say, going forward. Just for context, this is a vacant piece of property, which is, located in Hampton Bays, not far from that subdivision that we just looked at with the 6 lots in Hampton Bays.
It's next.
It's to the east of that. This is the car wash for
Yeah, it's next to the
Tortorella.
car wash.
And
Oh,
then,
yeah.
this is, where IGL is or was, here, in this location, so. So, they're proposing a series of buildings, a little bit here. So 3 buildings, the front one is 10,000 square feet, the middle one is 12,000 square feet, and the rear one is 7,000 square feet. So in this zoning district, it's HB zoning district, the lot is about 3 acres. The limitation on the size of buildings total is 15,000 square feet. So in order to facilitate this design, they would have to go to the zoning board of appeals.
Did you know that, Liz?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, we do.
okay.
So there was a pre-submission conference on August 10th, 2023. There were no comments on the application at the conference nor during the 30-day written comment period, which is required. So items to be submitted, first they'd have to go for a variance for this current design for this square footage of buildings above the 15,000 square feet.
So it's almost double that.
Yeah.
It's about,
Yeah.
it's like 29,000.
What's the feeling, what's the reasoning behind that? How did
It's-
that decision come to be?
It's we're proposing a 2-story office building in the front, which is a 5,000 square foot footprint. So it's a 10,000 square foot building, and then the 2 warehouses in the back. And it's a 3-acre parcel. In HB, the lot area requirement is 40,000 square feet. So, technically speaking, it could be subdivided, and you could do about 15,000 square foot buildings on each. That's the theory, I think.
Okay.
So that's the idea, is we're doing much less than that, so. I think when you look at it from a lot area and lot percentage coverage, it ends up being less than if you had done that, something like that.
If we had,
If
if
you
you
have-
subdivided
yeah.
it into 3 lots.
It becomes less percentage of building coverage and lot coverage if you do it this way, actually. No, this is just an aerial.
Is this a car wash site?
It's next to the car wash.
Next, okay.
Right next to it.
Just east of the
Yeah.
So that's a fully wooded.
This is the car wash
It's a
right here.
wooded site, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, it's cleared in a little bit, but it's wooded, yeah.
Is there an intended tenant?
That I don't know of yet.
So I just gonna go through the issues, and then we could discuss anything you want to add. The first one is it's a type 1 action due to the number of parking spaces, so secret would have to be completed prior to deeming the site plan complete. And I think in this case, do you would want to see a traffic analysis for the project? Okay. Yes?
That's you cover the circulation and
Okay.
just that's what a lot of these projects, just the truck turnaround and,
Mhm.
turning radius kind of
Might wanna
thing.
look at some
Okay.
cross-access, I don't know.
Did you put cross-access, Claire?
Oh, that's a good point, yes.
I mean, it could go
I'm gonna have
back
its
and forth.
own thing about traffic, I'm gonna make a new bullet here.
Okay, so.
Traffic analysis, shall be submitted including truck turning radius. and,
Circulation.
Cross-access.
Cross-access.
Is there a cross-access plan for that area? Might be in the Hampton Bays Hamlet study.
Yeah, might be, yeah.
Any neighboring properties have cross-access?
I'm just trying
What's
to,
that?
Do any neighboring properties have?
I think so.
what are the neighbors
Cross-access?
here, Claire?
This is a small thing.
Tortorella
Oh.
to the west, but you know what?
Tortorella to-
Hold on a second.
This is Tortorella here. This is the car wash.
Ah, okay.
This is like a
Right.
landscape, I don't know what they're doing here.
I
A lot
didn't
of
know what they were
debris.
doing next,
And
right
this-
next door.
This is just, is another Tortorella site, they did a similar situation here. They got a ZBA variance. because
So
that-
maybe we do have cross-access, if it's
We might.
recent, right?
we
You
might.
might, I'm gonna check right now.
Be nice to have it in the rear.
Oh, God, it'd be great.
The one to the east has never really been in with us.
Yeah. I remember years ago, we had an
slipper.
application for them to come in with special exception landscaping. And we, it's one of the few times we said, this does not meet special exception standards.
Yeah.
We turned them away.
The narrow lot, you mean?
Yeah, the narrow, thin
Yeah.
narrow lot, because there was no way to get trucks in circulation.
What is that now?
in there.
I don't
It's- it's
know.
a
Just
narrow,
debris?
I think
thin-
it's
I
continuing
don't know,
the use
stockpiling.
that used to be.
Yeah, start using, they're using it probably.
Yeah.
Okay, hold on a second, I was gonna
just double check the site plan, but I'm not seeing the site plan.
For which one? The car wash?
For Tortorella.
The car wash one?
Yeah.
I couldn't find it. I thought it was pre-existing non-conforming at one point, because I looked for it. I thought to myself,
been there a
wow,
while.
I couldn't find a
That's okay,
variance,
I would
because
just
look at the
say
coverage too.
cross-access
Yeah.
And I couldn't
review
find any
adjacent.
site plan.
I'm gonna say
Isn't that Puppy
review.
Mongo?
Yeah, Puppy Mondo, that was the name.
Well, that's the
That's
one,
the east.
yeah.
This
The
is
car
now.
wash is not
Yeah.
Puppy Manga.
Mhm.
And that I could not find a site plan for online.
I know.
Yeah.
And that
it's
little
weird.
errant strip
'Cause-
to the east of.
Is it pre-existing non-conforming?
No, because I would definitely did the front building
Yeah.
in my
So
time.
then did it get a variance? Because look at the size of the buildings on it.
I remember.
I
No, it
couldn't
was
find a
more than
variance.
15,000
Oh, it
square
was,
feet.
it was?
Yeah,
'Cause that
but
was
just
in the
barely, I
80s.
think.
Well, Puppy Mondo was a similar variance. They had the ability to subdivide, and they got, they
Yes.
secured their variance.
Mm-hmm.
Liz, on the parking.
Yes, on the
Okay,
parking?
Jump to that for a
Mhm.
second. Just looking real quick at the parking calculations on here, you've got 110 are required, they've provided 123.
Yes.
When I look at this, and
Mhm.
I see this on an awful lot of plans, the
Okay.
architect or who's ever designing this is doing 9 by 20-foot spaces, 9
Okay.
feet wide by 20 feet deep. I really think 10 by 18 is a
Okay.
better,
Better
uh,
configuration.
especially you've got, a warehouse, which probably means a lot of, pickup trucks and,
Mhm.
wider type of vehicles. They might just want to look at, and I don't want to screw up their whole, they did a nice job with the layout here, I don't want to screw it all up, but they
But
might
you-
want to look at 10 by 18. That then makes your travel lanes or your parking lanes, a little, gives you a little more width, it also gives you width in each parking space, which I think most people appreciate a
Yeah.
little extra space.
Okay.
Both are in the code, right, 9 by 20 or 10 by 18. and
Yes, you
I'm-
can do-
I'm just
But you
a-
prefer 10
I
by
prefer
18?
10 by
Okay,
18.
I'll make sure I mention that.
Especially when I'm parking my car.
Tom likes
All
it.
right.
We like
Me
it.
too. Me too.
So I'm gonna add that to 5,
Okay.
after the reference to the number of
Sure.
parking spaces.
Yeah,
Mhm.
because they're over what they need, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they got some leeway
Okay.
there.
Yeah.
And you could make some of them, and you have in some cases, longer, because some of them will have bigger trucks.
Right.
So that makes
Right.
sense, to have
Okay.
some
Yeah,
flexibility with
you're right,
that.
the truck parking is different.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Versus the people coming to the office.
right.
So, yeah, okay, good. I have that added, and then, 2 is where I get into the variance for this total square footage. So, the typical response from the planning board is typically that you don't support variances, because that's their
Right.
argument to the zoning board of appeals.
Right.
Should I say something to that effect?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that we
Good,
don't
yeah.
support it.
Okay, good. The buffer, they meet the front buffer, the rear buffer, this is up to you. This is the railroad tracks, and then it's the county parkland behind it. Actually don't know how we've done this in previous site plans, but you can see there is a sort of a buffer back here in this one. You probably wanna match that up, and what I'm
Okay.
talking about is, I don't think that's a full 50 feet there, but
Right.
17 is all you're required to do. So
Okay.
you just add the additional 7, use the,
Seven.
or line it up, either one.
17-foot buffer in the back?
Yeah,
Okay.
that would meet the requirement.
Okay.
And then, the access is from, Montauk Highway, but I'm
Mhm.
adding additional, look at the cross-access and review adjacent site plans for any cross-access.
Okay.
And then the parking we've gotten into, and this is where I get into this, so I've done a lot of these site plans over the years, and then, 5 years later, they're asking for a special exception for special trade contractor uses. I thought that maybe just build in some of those uses in this, because they don't know who's gonna come in. You might not be somebody with one warehouse use. Even if maybe this is gonna be special trade contractor and this is warehouse use, you could interchange it administratively with us without having to come back to you for special exception. So that's my suggestion, is to incorporate some special exception for the special trade contractor uses on the property.
Okay.
And the issue there is warehousing is such a low parking requirement, it's special trade contractors, not a lot, but it does require more parking.
With employees and.
Yeah, employees and things like
Mhm.
that. So just leaving yourself the flexibility, I think, does a
Okay.
good thing. So right now, they're proposing medical office and warehousing, those are permitted, and then a special trade contractor, that would be a special exception, of course. You wanna take a look at the appearance of the building? I don't have.
I have a
plans
rendering,
here.
I have one in here.
I've got like some smaller plans here.
You're-
Wanna take a peek at the?
It's gonna go to, there you go.
Claire does.
Oh, okay.
So that's the front building, that's what you'll see initially.
Oh, is this one set, or is this, am I supposed to be taking?
No,
We're
no,
getting
that's
there
yours.
like that,
Oh,
so.
That's your set, but you can
Oh,
share
okay.
and Dennis.
These are like some of the medical buildings that are there at Hampton Bays.
I don't know if this is a different or the same as what I have.
But would be what, for the front building, for the,
That one's the front, on the top of their packet, I'm
This one?
sorry.
The two
Yes, the
stories,
one
the
Dennis
two-
has, is the front, I think.
oh,
Is that the front? Wait, Claire, or is that a warehouse
That's the
he's looking
front.
at?
This is the
He
front.
must be looking at.
No, that's the warehouse.
Yeah, that's the
Warehouse.
That's the front, which you
Oh,
have in
that's the
your
front.
hands.
Okay.
The front, the first building.
Okay.
so this is the,
That's the warehouse,
this is the 5,000 square foot building.
the two-story office, yep.
And the wide side is facing the street? Or not?
I don't know. That's a good question. I
So what do you think
I
about the
almost
front
feel like
building?
they're so big, I can't tell
Well,
on my rendering.
it's kind of a very urban look, you know, I mean, it's,
Too urban?
it's, for my aesthetic, yes.
Yeah.
Way too urban.
Okay.
We've seen a lot of applications for the whole corridor, you know, I tend to agree
Have you
with
done anything
Jackie,
lately
it's-
that you guys really like, that we should look at? Have you done any, site plans for buildings like this that you like, that we should look
No,
to?
in fact, we saw one just recently that's also contemporary, modern, round, you know, it's.
Yeah.
The one opposite Macy's?
Yeah, okay. All right, good. It's, you know, it's. I don't know what to say. I mean, I just have to think about it.
Okay.
Yeah, it,
Encourage you to go to the ARB. They'll
Yeah,
have
of
some
course
good
we'll go to
the ARB,
but-
Feedback, even preliminarily.
yeah,
I
you
think
know,
that
I mean,
helps.
we talked earlier about this one massive building, breaking it up because the County Road 39 study
Right.
said campus-style buildings, you
Mhm.
know, smaller buildings,
Mm-hmm.
but that make a community of buildings. And
Mhm.
so not only do you have, I think, a better visual, but you have connectivity, interior circulation, where people come into just a community of whatever they're doing,
Right.
whether it's medical or office or,
Mhm.
I mean,
I would like to
hesitate-
see so much more of that.
Yeah, I
Okay.
hesitate to say it, but like, in a way, this, like, scale of development, the Stop and Shop is, you know, there's some woods still around there, it's sort of insulated, so they're, you know, and especially compared to the Macy's,
Mhm.
Yeah.
lot,
Right,
which is
right,
like,
Yeah.
and just like
Face,
paved. I'd like to see, because you do have like such a largely wooded lot right
Mhm.
now, that if you can incorporate some of that to where from the road, it
Mhm.
still kind of looks and does maintain some of that natural,
Okay. Claire, can you
you know,
think of any
woodland
that
that's
they've done that they like architecturally
interesting.
speaking
In,
recently? Any site plans, commercial site plans?
I can give you an example.
Okay,
Yeah,
Hampton Glass. I
okay.
think that building looks beautiful.
okay.
It's nice and open, you have, you know, it breathes a little bit more. This is very imposing and very,
The Hampton Glass on Spanish River.
yeah.
Oh, wow, okay.
know,
Could you like pull up those street views of Stop and Shop and Hampton Glass,
Yes.
just so we could,
Yeah.
I was struggling to figure out how to describe
Well, that is in the section overlay district. So it makes
Which
it a
one
little
is?
different. This is a site that's not restricted in the code. But yes, you can see these are the.
Right, like
This
they
is
had.
This is Stop and Shop and this is McDonald's.
Mhm.
And so this vegetation was required to stay
Yeah.
anyways.
Right.
However, but yeah, they could incorporate that as,
Yeah, I mean, if you keep some of the vegetation on the roadside, then, you know,
Mhm.
you can go in and open it up a
Right.
bit more versus,
I
you know,
I
paving
think,
down the
I
whole
think
thing.
I'm beginning to see a level of development with multiple buildings, more like corporate parks, you
Right,
know?
Right.
right.
And
Yep.
we are not that.
Mhm, yeah.
And so, just some creative design
Yeah.
with smaller, multiple buildings, and just an interior layout, you know, this is clunk, 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 divided, you know, it was like sort of dividing a pie.
Okay.
At the
Or a
risk of sounding
loaf.
hokey, it
A
doesn't
loaf.
feel Hamptons.
Right.
It doesn't, yeah, it's not very
Yeah.
inviting.
I
yeah.
see what you're saying.
Yeah.
You know, I'll bring that back to the client, but it is HB, so for the warehouse part of it, that's different, but maybe for the office building in the front, it could be
Mhm.
something quite different, so I'll
Yeah.
definitely bring this back.
Okay.
You know,
Okay.
it didn't get built yet, but the Norsec
Oh, no, the
building-
Norsec building.
No, the front building.
That's
was
what I
ve-
mean.
Was very nice. It's not built yet. It's not built yet. Let me show it to you. Let me show it to you.
Okay.
Let me show it to you. Because it's not, it was
It's a
very.
very modern glass round building. The new Norsec building in front of.
No. The one they did not build yet.
Yeah.
They
When are
built,
they
they
gonna build
approved 2 buildings. The one is should be phase 2, and then they did not build it.
You wanna
So,
pull it
yeah,
up?
let me show it to you. Actually, I'm sure I have it.
Okay. I'm concerned about time.
I'm concerned about time
Yeah.
too. How about
She can send it
Yeah,
to me.
I'll send it to you.
Mm-hmm.
And send it to
then
the board, see if they like
landscaping,
it.
I this and the natural landscaping in the front.
Yeah,
Yeah,
keeping
okay.
some of what's there, you know? I mean, we see this all the time. It's like, oh, we have like a wooded lot, just
Just like
pave it all
clear-
down and like, we'll put some street trees in, okay.
Right.
No, I
Well,
think that's a good point. And
hold on a
this
minute.
is a corridor-
Like,
This is a corridor that
can we
we
be
do have some
creative?
natural, so why not keep some, right?
Right.
So,
Mhm.
okay, good. I like that. I just a couple more things very
Okay.
quickly. The dumpster, typical, if there's
Yeah.
outdoor storage, you have to provide parking, the sanitaries and IA system, referrals, and a public hearing is gonna be required.
Lighting and all of that. You've got
Mhm.
just the basics.
We'll come back with everything.
We're also looking for sustainability,
Okay.
all right?
That's
So do you
Claire?
want me to update this and bring it
Yes,
back?
please.
Okay.
Add
So I'll adopt it
sustainability.
on October
Charging
12th.
stations.
Solar charging
Yes,
stations.
all the language that was in
Yeah.
Blessing.
Thank you.
Or whatever that one was, Serenity Bill,
Right.
is gonna be in here.
Yeah.
I already added it. Great, so we'll bring it back October 12th to update it in, we'll give you some examples.
Great.
Okay.
No action on that?
Thanks,
Liz.
Liz.
Yep.
There's no action on that, right?
No action.
No.
Thank you so much. Have a good evening.
You too.
Thank you, get something to eat before the hearing. Oh my gosh.
All this building.
We have a bowl
So my
of
next one is Atlantic, this is gonna be, these are gonna be,
Atlantic Golf Club 13, that's Wayne.
yeah.
The staff housing, right?
Mm-hmm. So I'm recommending, the applicant submitted a site plan application for the Atlantic Golf Club for staff housing under the new special exception regulations that were adopted by the town code.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm recommending that the site plan be deemed incomplete because we do need the pre-submission process with
Okay.
this. So that's my recommendation. I relayed that to the applicants. They are gonna give me the paperwork
Okay.
immediately, and they would like to be scheduled for a pre-submission, which we have the plans already, so we're ready for that.
So what do we want? October
Wait, how are we
26th?
looking? November, actually, 9th
November.
is probably the next one, right?
October 26th or November 9th.
26th.
Oh, 26th, of course,
October,
yeah.
okay, October 26th. All right, motion,
Motion.
Justin, to deem it incomplete and to
To
schedule
schedule a pre-submission.
pre-submission hearing for October 26th. Motion,
Subject to the submission of the form and the fee.
Yes.
right,
Even though you have more money and more form here than, but it's the separate form,
okay.
the pre-submission form.
Yeah,
Pre-
subject to.
Keep them coming.
And you have to
Okay.
give that to us in one.
Thank you, I'll see
Oh,
you at
thank you,
6
Amy.
o'clock.
Motion by Craig, second by Tom, all in favor.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, 4 in favor, 3 absent.
So my next one is called Spion, it's Sunrise
Sunrise.
and Spion. Essentially, I'm starting SECRA on this one, and I'm going to, coordinate. This is an unlisted action, but I'm coordinating with, the, Pine Barrens and the Health Department on this application.
This is number 14.
Yes. So this is next to Delandro, it's on Old Country Road. And the application is for a 3,000 square foot building, but I asked them to actually submit a plan for the 10,000 square foot building on the property, which is very similar to what Delandro's asking for now.
On Old Country or Spionk River?
Spionk River Head Road.
Oh, okay.
And so I'm referring this to the Pine Barrens, just to make sure that this is the correct location that they want it at, so we'll
Pine
get that
Barrens
double check.
Commission.
Yeah, so we'll get that double check, so it's a, coordinate SECRA resolution.
Okay, motion to coordinate SECRA for
Motion.
Sunrise at Spionk, motion by Kate.
Second?
Second by Craig, all in favor.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, 4 in favor, 3 absent.
And my last one is, Loaves and Fishes.
What, is Dave taking off that
Oh,
designation?
I'm gonna do that one. Oh, and, okay, do that real quick, the one, you no objections to landmarking the West Hampton Performing Arts Center building?
I don't have an objection.
Planning
That's
board
fine.
fully supports?
Yeah, there should be, supports preservation and landmarking in the town of Southampton, and this supports that. I think we
Perfect.
should have that phrase in there.
Okay, I like that.
If there's a landmark in that town, that's it.
That's it,
Yeah.
exactly. Yep, so I'll do that resolution for you, and we'll just pass it.
Yeah.
Okay, motion,
Motion.
motion by Craig, second by Kate, all in favor.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, 4 in favor, 3 absent. The ZBA referral for Loaves and Fishes.
And this is my last one, besides the.
These are the 2
acknowledgements.
buildings, right? Do they
These are
need-
the 2 buildings.
They need a variance?
They do need variances, they're gonna do a ZBA variance, who will be requested to be, coordinate the lead agency on this one, so you would want lead agency, so I'll say that. I'm sorry. So basically, we're gonna take our, pre-submission report that we did in January, or March, I should say, and turn that into your ZBA. The only difference with the site plan that you saw before is that they changed the location of the entrance. Can you see that? The entrance is now across the street from the, commercial property and not the,
On Butter.
Butter. It's not
Oh.
as far up north.
Right,
I think this was to placate the neighbors.
right. Those
Yeah,
people on
but
the north
it,
side.
but it also burdens Butter, a fully residential street.
No, it's coming towards the, commercial rather than the.
That's where the bus
So
company is?
originally, I'm gonna get the
Yeah.
aerial up, see?
That's the bus company
Yeah,
there.
Red Hand Bus Garage, right?
Yeah.
That's the new entrance, it's opposite
So the
that.
new entrance is across from the bus drive, rather, before it was across from
It's
these
up there,
houses.
yeah. How are we doing on cross-access?
Still cross-access. It's still part of the project.
And did they do the set, it looks like they did the setbacks for that rear parking and buffers, we'll do buffers along there.
Yep. So I'm gonna say
Right.
planning board wants lead agency.
So you sure
Yes.
we have the cross-access clear?
We still do, yes.
Is it, it's not on the rear, though? I'm looking for it.
Yes, it is.
I think it comes
It's gonna be
through
proposed to
here,
the
right?
east. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Yes, it's proposed to the east.
So it's gonna link up to those rear parking spaces back there?
It is, sorry, let me look at your plan.
Yeah, let's see.
Sorry for,
No. So those, yeah, so you see the cross-access, right? And then this is always gonna have the cross-access here.
proposed walkway.
But it doesn't meet now because this one doesn't
Oh.
have it yet. This one doesn't have
But
it
shouldn't
yet.
we ask shouldn't we ask them to show that?
The future cross-access.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And put
it
For the
in.
secret, for
And
the
put it
secret.
in.
The secret, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
They can build it out.
Like
Well,
not have a
until the
walkway
other one
across
has-
it, is what you're saying.
Yeah, I didn't have that in the readily available in this, but I think we already
So
had it,
this is now a new application that we are looking at.
It's a new
This is not,
application.
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah. So,
2023.
right.
yes.
They wanted to patch up the old one.
Any special concerns with the variances though? No, right?
What do they need the variance for?
What they needed prior, which is the setbacks to the parking and setbacks to the front.
You know, I don't support a reduced setback from those residential lots, residential houses. They've put in a lot of decorative stuff, like a porte cochere and a covered terrace. When they had space to put it in, we looked at this during an agenda meeting when Janice looked at it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
They have an opportunity to create more buffering here, but they want to put in these little decorative things.
Was there a public hearing on this, and the neighbor?
Yes,
Right.
this
Right.
neighbor
Came back
here
and
as a
he was pretty
child,
upset.
and, yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Didn't they have a row of parking right up against that back?
Yes, they
Is
did.
that
The
what
15
side?
feet. The 15 feet, those 7 parking spaces were along the entire thing
Right.
before.
Right.
That was the original plan, at 15 feet. And that was the variance that was granted prior. So now they've reduced that parking from 12 parking spaces
Right.
down to the 7.
But whatever variances they had no longer apply to this, because this is
Yeah.
a new
The
application.
ZBA is considering.
I mean, I think that they should increase the setback from the residential, from the northern portion.
The variances don't run with the land?
We had this whole discussion.
Yeah, I know.
Because it's a different.
Different application.
Oh, okay.
They consider it the same application. Should I say, investigated for increased setback to the north?
Mm-hmm.
Do you want me to bring this back?
I mean, because
Can you?
the,
Yeah, I
I
mean,
think
the
that we need-
ZBA determination
Huh?
the ZBA determination links to the application, not the property, right?
No, it does, I mean, there is a precedent now
Okay.
that they've had a decision.
Okay.
So they'd be very hard pressed to, they'd have to say there was no information, basically.
Variances
But that-
are
There
with the
is,
land.
because there's a totally
They
revised map.
do, so there's some precedent there, but they're looking at this like a new application.
Right.
Mhm.
All right, so can we bring it back? Because,
100%.
Yeah, I think this
yeah.
warrants a further
I don't
discussion.
think you can necessarily go eat because we're,
15 minutes.
unless you're gonna
So-
run.
So we're
There
signing.
you go.
Acknowledgement
Grab a
of sign,
slice and come back.
acknowledgement of signed plans, 17 Long Island Tesla, 18 the Atlantic Golf Course. What else, Claire?
That's it, you sign
Weren't
it.
were there more though?
No, Anthony already mentioned them.
He mentioned Hampton's, Sunquag,
Yeah.
and Charles somebody.
Yeah, Turtle or something, and
That's
yes,
it.
those
All
were
right.
signed. You're all set?
Okay, so we're not gonna talk about discussion of,
Oh, no, Janice was not available for
right.
any discussion, but we're gonna try to do that for the 10th of October, which is the next
Okay,
meeting.
we talked about leaving
The
some
12th.
time at the end of each session to talk about code changes that we might like, or changes that we might like, and to deal with Janice and Claire directly, okay? And then there's a training for an hour. Dave is going to do old file maps on October 12th, next door at noon, 12:30, what did I say? And then 12:30.
And when is the second
For
training?
1 credit, and the second one is November 9th? Whatever our planning board is, they're right before the planning board. So 12:30 there, and Lynn Arthur will do that on sustainability and cooperative energy packages. So that'll be a credit, so that's 2. And the rest you can get on the APA website.
Yeah.
They have a lot of courses that are 1 credit, 1 credit and a half, and they're easy to do at home.
Mhm.
Okay, motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Motion by Craig.
Second.
Second by Dennis, all in favor. Opposed, abstentions? 5 in favor, 2 absent, we are adjourned.